That was my very serious introduction. How are we all? I hope you like my collage. That took me several seconds to put together. You're very welcome. If that's not worth $5 of your money, I don't know what is. Can we get some lols in chat? Can we? Can we? Yeah, maybe? Anyway, we're going to be focusing on some British shite again, because that's... Shouldn't the collage have been a bunch of boxes? Anyway, yeah, we're gonna be watching some Laura Kay, because why not? There are worse things, you know. Worse things happen at sea. X is overcapacity. X is so... Twitter's so shit. Twitter is so shit. Fucking... Oh, God, it's rubbish. Even when it works, it's full of Nazis, but then it doesn't work a lot of the time. I'm getting the feeling Elon Musk might be a fucking idiot who doesn't actually understand things. I don't know about you. That is, well, I mean, we wouldn't call it a trash dumpster, we'd call it a skip. But yes, that is essentially a dumpster that someone has put a skin on that says, God bless the Queen. Honestly, that time in British history needs to be studied. The brain worms were just off the charts. They really were.
I mean, hello, Kev, how you doing?
I'm very well, how are you?
Oh, I'm not
Yellow?
doing too bad at all. Madge was just saying in chat that the Winterfield allowance might be the biggest fumble he's ever seen, and I think I probably agree.
The biggest fumble? Maybe, I guess. It's probably not the worst thing ever, but yeah, it's pretty bad, yeah. The Omni Shambles budget was pretty good too, to be fair.
Yeah, it's like a real shooting of one's own foot. Again, for no reason, just incinerating political capital for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, the pasty tax was good. Actually,
That
yeah,
also was
to be
good,
fair, yeah, in terms of fumbles, I think the entirety of Theresa May's 2017 campaign that was one of the greatest fumbles, because she had the most pliant media on earth and she still managed to come across as an evil old witch. So, like,
She
it
did,
just
she
it's
did.
mental that happened.
I mean, it
Literally,
was
they were
kind of,
portraying your
it was kind
opponent
of,
as Hitler and he made a massive comeback. Like, how? How did you do that, Theresa? Girl
it's
boss.
kind of scummy. It was kind of scummy from Labour to take their reforms to social care and call it a dementia tax, but it worked. Fucking worked.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. The Tory press were literally
Exactly.
calling him fucking Hitler. I don't think that's the
Exactly.
time to, like... I'm not going to weird champ him about a bit of weird fucking silly word play. I don't give a fuck. Go
Yeah.
for it. Fuck it, call it the Hitler tax. I don't fucking care what you call it. Like, at that point, if they're smearing you as a Czechoslovak fucking spy, I don't fucking care. Call them whatever you like.
True, true. Literally, yeah, absolutely. Definitely the best way of doing it.
Yes, so, how have you been?
I've just been playing some Magic the Gathering today, as my name might suggest, but
Well,
that is all that I've been doing today.
Well, that is deeply sad. I am very sorry.
What about you? How have you been?
Oh, I've been watching cricket, which is arguably sadder in some respects. But yeah,
Especially considering how fucking miserably England played.
very odd, very odd. It felt like it was like they were already on the beach, so to speak. Like they couldn't give less of a fuck about this match. Like we've got 250 on the board. Let's just play like cunts for the next 4 days. Like it's ridiculous. Anyway, so that's that. Thank you, Dan PJK, for becoming a member on the YouTubes. Don't forget you can, of course, become a member or do super chats on either of our YouTube arenas. You can become a member. No, you can subscribe, indeed, and do bits messages and gift those things as well to the community on Twitch, on both of our channels. And you should do that.
You can do that now.
Yeah, indeed. Laura Kay's back.
Yes! Time for some excruciatingly mid journalism from our resident Tory fluffer.
Honestly, I don't think mid. Honestly, mid seems like far too nice a word for it.
It's generous, being generous.
Yeah, this is properly munted journalism, is what this is. Absolute monkfish. Yeah. Oh God, Keith. I've only seen bits and pieces that were on the news and stuff from that interview, and if I hear this cunt, and I mean that with the most venomous sincerity, cunt, ever use the phrase rebuild the foundations ever again, it'll be too soon. I'm already sick of him, and it's been 2 fucking months. It's the same 12 sentences repeated over and over and over and over and over, and I want to do things that are definitely terms of service, so I can't say it.
I know it's honestly, it's literally, it's clear. It's clear. I don't know how anybody hasn't, like the whole country hasn't realised at this point that Keir Starmer is literally doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he's just delivering repeated lines that he's been told to by Pat McFadden. Like, isn't it literally? Surely it must be obvious to everyone that he's just an automaton being fed lines.
Yeah,
at this point, right?
he's basically a stupid face to an evil organisation. He's a technocratic robot.
He's Jar Jar Binks. He's literally Jar Jar Binks.
No, Jar Jar Binks was funny. I liked Jar Jar, but I'm just going to put it out there. I thought it was funny.
Okay.
I'm just, anyway, let's not get into it. It becomes weird. Yeah.
Also, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex Ritchie, saying, "Can we big up the San Marino team and their first international win in 40 years against Liechtenstein?" Absolutely, big up San Marino.
No, I won't do that because neither of them are real countries. So no, I won't do that. 2 pub teams played each other and they're pretending it's an international game, is what happened there.
I'd like to see San Marino versus Salford FC.
Honestly, I'd fancy Salford. Salford are a team of professionals. I honestly think they would do better. Like, no offence. Like, I understand sovereignty and all the rest of it, and they are technically countries, but when you've got guys like when your best footballer ever played in the Italian 4th division, I mean, you're not a proper international football team, and so goals against you shouldn't count as international goals because they're not proper goals. They're not. Gibraltar isn't even a fucking independent country, and it has a fucking football team. Why? Why are we pretending that a goal against Gibraltar counts the same as a goal against Brazil? It doesn't.
True, very true, very true.
No,
It's
the
like
Vatican-
it's like getting wickets against Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, exactly. It's bollocks. It's rubbish, and yeah, absolute nonsense.
I mean, it is funny to me as well that for a very, very long time, there was the San Marino Grand Prix they had every year. There was
Yeah.
it in Italy. It was in Imola, which isn't in San Marino. It's in... They now renamed it the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix because, yes, it's actually in that province of Italy, not in San Marino.
True. Well, did you see that New Zealand are playing Afghanistan in India? Well, that's not a real test match. I'm sorry, it's not. That's not how that works. I'm sorry. Like, if your country is in the grips of a fascist regime, so you can't play there, you just don't play, I guess. Or you just play away, maybe? I don't know. It's not as bad as when Pakistan were playing in the UAE. What the fuck was that about? Jesus. Anyway, let's not... I'm not getting into it. I'm just going to offend everyone.
I think they deliberately... There were deliberately terror attacks in Pakistan against cricketers so that they could justify playing their games in the UAE, so Abdul Rahman could rip through lineups on those dry-ass pitches. It was deliberate, but actually with nothing to do with Islamism whatsoever. It was a sneaky ploy to get them to better at winning test matches by having given them drier wickets to play on.
Exactly. It wasn't terrorism, it was off-spin. Is what it was, okay? Fact. All spinners are terrorists, is the conclusion we've come to. Which makes me feel less bad about Shane Warne being dead. Because, terrorist. Like I said.
Also, Sosa in chat says that they joined a Trot organisation in London last week and left the minute they tried to sell you a newspaper. Have you seen the guy who does YouTube videos? And he's just like, I'm walking into McDonald's and I'm going to leave as soon as I meet a fat person all the time. And it just goes in and then walks straight out again. Or... And by the way, he is black, the guy doing this. We'll go into KFC, so I'm going to go in KFC and leave as soon as I meet a black person, goes in, comes straight back out again. This is what it's like at a Trotskyist convention, a Trotskyist organization.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into a Trotskyist organization and leave as soon as someone hands me a newspaper and then just in and out.
Well, then it's just a gif of Grandpa Simpson going into that burlesque club and seeing Bart and then instantly getting his hat back on and walking out. Like, it's just that.
You take off, pick up your copy of the Morning Star, and then leave again.
How
As a
many
socialist worker is the SWP's one, right?
What I want to ask Trotskyists, or especially when we say trot, there's a specific kind of British trot or whatever, right? I'm not going to about like Trotskyist revolutionaries in fucking Nepal or something, right? It is literally... how many times do you have to get told, no, I don't want to buy that paper, before you realise that not selling newspapers isn't going to bring about the revolution? Like, for real. Come on now.
To be fair, Martin, we're not bashing trots. We're lightly ribbing them for being obsessed with selling people.
Yeah, it's the trying to sell newspapers bit. Like, what is it about not selling newspapers that you think is going to bring about proletarian power? I'm genuinely fascinated by that as a concept. Also, if you could try not to bandwagon on literally every topic ever, that would also be kind of cool. But, whatevs.
It was the Revolutionary Communist Party, was it? Is that the new one or the old one? Is it still the same thing? Because as far as I was aware, the Revolutionary Communist Party became spiked. So
look, don't make me do the People's Front of Judea bit, okay? Don't make me shout splitters. Don't make me do it. Because I fucking will. Anyway. Thank you, Andreas, for gifting, for a donation. And thank you, Dan PJK, for gifting subs. Or memberships.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise, thank you, Dan PJK, for the 5 gifted on my end. And Raboozle as well. I appreciate both of your support.
Yes. Oh, yeah, so, Laura Kay then, I guess.
sorry. Somebody's saying I'm not a trot, I'm a Marxist-Leninist. I'm like, well, does that make Trotskyism, Marxism, big issueism?
I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere about killing someone with a newspaper in the head or something. I'm sure there's a line in there. I just can't.
I mean, true. That's. There are probably plenty of politicians in this country who would perish if you wrapped them on the head with a rolled-up newspaper. So,
true.
Not that I'm saying you should do it. I'm explicitly saying this is a bad thing.
Yeah, all right, all right, Moncada, calm yourself. Jesus. Anyway, right. Let's get to it. Laura Kay, just trash.
Worst person.
Hello, we are back with a big morning for you. The Prime Minister's first major interview in number 10 since he took power. He tells me in the cabinet room the Tories broke the country and he is ready to be disliked to sort it out.
We're going to have to be on
ready. I mean, you already
tough
hate
decisions.
me.
Are tough decisions.
Like he says in this, I'm prepared to be unpopular. You were before you got elected. What are you on about? You're not going to become unpopular because you would have had to have been not unpopular at some point to transition to being unpopular.
Literally. Also, did he say that the sentence he just said there was tough decisions means tough decisions? Okay, so is he doing 5 seconds back? Yeah.
We're going to have to be unpopular. Tough decisions are tough decisions.
Wow! Meaningless tautologies for the win. Woo!
Exactly. He's clearly jumping the Brexit means Brexit shark.
Yeah. Now what we need is red, white, and blue decisions. Get decisions done.
Or was this phrase that you said before during the campaign?
Oven ready decisions is what we need.
It's like I'm gonna be the man that represents change, and that'll be the change that we'll bring about. What was the fucking sentence that he said?
It was some shit like that, yeah. But like he literally is just repeating words. I thought he was gonna have to do something in government. Just by happenstance, you have to do something. Like you have to open a door or like say words. You have to do something. But no, he's just going to repeat meaningless bullshit. We're going to repair the foundations. What does that mean? Freezing old people to death. Oh, thanks. Oh, brilliant. That's definitely going to fix the foundations of our economy. Apparently. Somehow.
Popular decisions aren't tough, they're easy. When we talk about tough decisions, I'm talking about tough decisions. The things that last...
When we talk about tough decisions, I'm talking about tough decisions. Are you broken? Is your head literally physically cracked open now? What?
See, now that he's dyed his hair, I think he is literally just Theresa May anyway. This is just Theresa May put through FaceApp.
Well, is it? Has he definitely dyed his hair? Because that might, I understand that, or is it just aging?
Oh, actually, looking at it now, it doesn't. When they shared the clip on Twitter, it looked like he dyed his hair and it had gone kind of white rather than grey, so that he had like full coverage and it was uniform. I don't know.
Yeah, because I get that. Like my dad said when he started going grey, he was like, I hate it. I either go fully grey or stay coloured. Look, patchy grey looks fucking awful. You look like a tabby cat.
Okay. Yeah, like absolutely. If you need to get it looking how we need to, then absolutely go and dye it. But he, I mean, now that he's greying, he just seems to be like Theresa May put through FaceApp.
True. I hope he starts dancing weird.
True.
And like
Also,
coughing
thank you
through everything.
So thank you, Mr. Piananda, for the £10 super chat. This donation came courtesy of the world-famous Belgian philanthropist Edward Gregorian. Well, I'm glad so.
Well, I literally changed my thing from, I forget whatever old meme I had up there, and now my opening screen just says not funded by Russia.
Oh, your one said, you said a clout gulag incoming shortly, right?
Oh, that was it, yeah. Sorry. And then I changed it because I thought, fuck it. I need to differentiate myself from online spaces. And just in case MI5 are wondering, you know what I mean? You can't be too careful.
Ran away from.
But the Tories are after a new leader to drum up popularity. The former minister, Tom Tugendhat, is the first contender to join us to explain why he wants the job. Now, Tom, you were near the back of the pack in the first round this week. Do you think you'll be...
She's still doing the weird standing up while the other person sits down bit. It just makes it makes her look like a giant or something. It doesn't. It's weird perspective. I don't like it.
in it in 7 days' time?
Absolutely. This is a very flat race, as you can see. And
so the way that she's kind of Whether she's kind of leaning down to talk to him, it makes her look like a runner. Like she's just a runner.
Well, it just
and this is,
looks
like the talent.
It just looks uncomfortable. Either sit down and then get up and walk to the next place, or have him stood up at like a table or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like it'd be weird. Like if you walk into a room and someone else is sat down and you stand up and start talking to them and refuse to sit down as well, you're not meeting them at their level, and it just looks fucking mental. Like you're a psychopath.
I mean, she is one, so.
Well, that is true.
To change this country for the better.
Okay, we'll talk to you a bit later on. Also,
You must be Lee Miller. It's a war zone.
a superstar for our first Sunday. Kate Winslet is back talking about her new Can't Look Away movie.
Superstar? Is it 1998 again? What happened? Yeah, that's right. Kate Winslet burn.
And her new attitude too.
Laura, life is too short. Do you know, I don't want to look back and go, why did I worry about that thing? And so guess what? I don't worry anymore. I don't care.
And two other queens, Queens of
Hard-hitting
Fleet
politics.
Street, the editor of The Sun, Victoria Newton, and The Guardian's scoot getter, Pippa Crerar, are with us today, along with chef and Green campaigner Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall.
I mean, I like that they have a green on, but can we have literally any green person who isn't just a celebrity chef? Can we get like a green, economist?
No, you need a green posh boy. That's it.
Hey, thank you, My Left Eye, for the raid.
Morning, morning. It's great to be back. And let's start, as we always do, with what is making the news. There's no one dominant story this morning. We've heard Keir Starmer condemning the Tories' handling of the NHS in our interview, and The Observer leads with the government.
No, the real big story is man didn't sing magic song and therefore the country is dead. Did you follow that story at all?
I saw it tangentially
Yeah.
and realised that there are more pressing concerns in life.
There are, but you wouldn't know that from reading the newspapers. Because he didn't sing
True,
the magic
true.
song, and therefore I think the king is now been killed by God. That was the only thing stopping them. As long as we all sang God Save the King, he would. But now he has to
True.
teach us a lesson that we will never forget. So he's going to murder the king. Fact.
Review into the health service. The Mail on Sunday and the Sunday Express are both going after Labour's plans for tax. Michael Gove, the former Tory minister,
Hang on a
tells the Sunday
minute.
Times.
Sorry. One of the headlines was winter fuel allowances, Starmer's poll tax, and I'm like, mate.
Did I miss the fuel tax riots?
Yeah,
What?
and I mean, I guess the old people are unlikely to be well enough to riot, but even so, I mean, like, whilst I don't think it should be taken away, I've clearly made the argument that you should keep it and then add higher taxes for rich pensioners to be able to pay for it. But the idea that it's somehow taking winter fuel payments away from people who've had their state pension protected by the triple lock for both inflation and average wages, so it's increased higher than inflation twice in 2 years, is somehow equivalent to levying a gigantic tax on specifically the poorest members in society.
Yes.
Seems a bit silly to me.
It is massively silly. But what it is a sign of the unfathomably stupid communications team that the Labour Party are or have. Because they decided to do this when there was no other news around, so that's all we would talk about. And now Parliament's been back for a week, it's still all we're talking about. They've managed to make the least popular thing ever, freezing old people to death, the thing that they are like the hill they're going to die on.
Well, yeah, especially
Brilliant.
as it was literally the last thing they did before parliamentary recess, so there was no politics, so we just kept talking about
Well,
it.
exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's like it's like what's the thing about the last thing you do before you go to bed is the thing your subconscious thinks of or whatever, right? It's that Parliament went to sleep and it just dreamt about this fucking thing for 2 months. And now they're back and it's just all that's been talked about because it's the only thing that anyone's talked about. And it's
True.
and it's they're so shit. They're so fucking bad at this.
And the thing is, it was shit throughout the entirety of the campaign as well. Remember how many question times we watched? Like, that was that Thangam Debonair one, I think it was with you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where Thangam Debonair was like, I don't know what that policy is, but I'll have to check it later. I'm like, you knew I was going to get asked about this. What the fuck are you doing?
Mad. Well, I mean, I think you saw it. There was Howard Beckett on Twitter retweeted your fine roasting of the now Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, on LBC. And it struck me again that you did a better job holding the feet of the fire of his and Her Majesty's loyal opposition than the entirety of the British media did. Literally, they had basically no scrutiny of any real note, apart from you going, "Why did you say this thing and now you support a completely different thing, you piece of shit?"
Here are your words that you now completely disagree with.
Yeah. Which is literally more pushback than she received from actual newspapers.
Yeah.
Mad.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, by the way, I found the actual quote from Keir Starmer where he said, this genuine phrase, "I will change the things that need changing, and that is the change I'm going to bring about."
Changey change.
Nothing will fundamentally change.
True.
The Treasury blocked him going after Grenfell bosses. We'll hear more from Keir Starmer about that later too. But the Sun and the Mirror splash on Strictly and Oasis. So maybe there's something in there for everyone. Let's then talk about Keir Starmer. So Victoria, we're going to hear from him at length for the first time, really. But it's been a gloomy first couple of months, hasn't it?
That's right. I mean, they started off sort of hitting the ground running with planning reforms, talking about the NHS reform they're going to do. But then obviously you've had the riots.
The editor of The Sun, literally the worst person in the country.
Do you know, and she had the absolute fucking temerity on Radio 4 to try and claim that her paper had nothing to do with the riots that we'd seen, with all of the kind of covers that they'd put on.
There are serial
paper.
killers in jail that are more morally upright than this person.
Absolutely.
I will just say that. Like, if I had to choose between the serial killers and this bitch, Rosemary West gets freed. I'm never making partner. There's no way they put a McDonald's advert next to me. You're joking.
I mean, well, I guess now you have the official other revenue stream is YouTube. I don't think they'd make you a partner anyway.
Oh, true. Fuck them then. Yeah, free Rosemary West. Free her now. She might be dead. I don't even fucking know. Let's make that ironic campaign a thing. Fuck it.
Which I think caught them on the back foot a bit. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag and a gloomy set of
And I love the fact that I now know some of my Americans are Googling that person's name. And they're in for a rude shock. Let me tell you.
predictions from him.
And Pippa, he walked straight into a big row with his party over winter fuel allowance. There's a vote in Parliament on that this week. But how would you assess, you know, how serious it is for him on that issue?
I think it's actually the most serious potential rebellion he's faced of his premiership. It's something which I have found MPs from the left, the middle and the right of the Labour Party are all really concerned about. Their own email inboxes from the constituencies.
Exactly. But again, it's so fucking typical that that's the thing they're interested in. Not the fact that the policy is ghoulish and demented and is going to kill people. It's the fact that they're getting, like, pushback on it.
I mean,
that's enough.
Either
apparently.
way,
like, what the
I mean,
fuck?
either way, as far as I'm concerned, because at the end of the day, if you are an MP, your job is to represent your constituents, and therefore you will have to forward those things on to your superiors. Now, of course, when it's between the right and the left of the party, I firmly believe that those on the right of the party are fundamentally only concerned with the optics of this, because, of course, this has been a gigantic shit show from start to finish, as we first talked about, with how they left it until the end of the period before recess, so it's all we talked about for weeks. And then on top of that, the fact that it's affecting people who always vote and whose concerns are always held as the highest regard when it comes to how we report on the sharp end of policy in this country. Not the disabled, not anybody else, just old people. You know, we should be talking about everybody in that regard. But there's also going to be a large amount of people on the left of the party who just fundamentally oppose it because they know that means testing this shit is stupid. We should absolutely be having a higher tax rate on richer pensioners and making it universal so no one falls through the cracks. And they're going to have a big rebellion. They're going to have a big rebellion when we have this vote. And it's not just going to be the existing 7 who've already had the whip removed. Ironically, they've been told they have to still obey the whip. And I'm just like, well, if you want them to obey the whip, then give them the whip back.
Yeah.
That's why it's called taking away the whip. Because if you're not sitting as part of the parliamentary party, you're not obligated to fucking vote with the whip. That's stupid. But also people like Rachel Maskell and other people like the MP for Poole are also probably going to vote against it too. And what they're going to do when they have this gigantic rebellion. And now, because we have not just the Green bloc in Parliament, we have the Independent Alliance bloc as well. There's plenty of scope for them to go, well, you get rid of me from the whip and I'll join this other party that's attacking you from the left.
I don't want to be too much of a Billy Big Bollocks about this, but I did bring up that possibility with you in the last show, and I think you poo-pooed it slightly. I did suggest that having the independent bloc of people there would be an effective potential home for people who are disaffected if they get removed from the whip, and therefore it would make it less likely that they would enforce that.
I mean, I think I agree with that. I don't think that they would join. I think that most of the people from the 7 who've already had the whip removed are all people who feel very kind of innately tied to the Labour Party. People like Long Bailey and Sultana, especially John McDonnell, I think is very unlikely that they would move because they have this weird nostalgic connection to the Labour Party that clearly hates them nowadays. They can't see that they hate it at this point.
True, but
so I don't think they would move.
That's not just a thing for today's Labour. George Galloway was a member of the Labour Party and fucking Tony Blair was literally had already invaded Iraq. Like having that connection is just a thing that's always been there, and it can be difficult because if you came up through the trade unions, especially, you've been a member of the Labour Party for decades at that point. I can understand the emotional pull, certainly.
Yeah, exactly. But at the very least, even if the threat of them actually joining, I think, is still pretty low in most of these people's cases, it's still enough.
Yeah.
It's still enough for them to say, oh, well, if you start just getting rid of the whip merrily and trying to force your authoritarian hand. First of all, people didn't like it. People didn't like it when they were nasty to Faiza Shaheen and Diane Abbott. It's why they had to U-turn on the Diane Abbott stuff, because it was optically terrible for them. Yeah. And on top of that, they risk alienating a huge amount of voters from their core voting bloc, even more than they have done, by legitimizing the independent alliance's attacks against them.
Indeed, yeah. And that's why, I mean, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but in the interview with Sir Keith, he was asked directly by her, in the rare bit of journalism that she does, about the will you remove the whip from people who vote against you on this in Parliament this week? And he prevaricated. He wouldn't say yes. So he's already gotten rid of 7 before, but now this is going to be significantly larger, so he doesn't want to, basically give up his massive majority. Apologies, the noise. We'll get to that in a second. Thank you, Zakap, for raiding. Much love, everyone. Go and follow Zakap. Now, he doesn't want to give up his majority by having to get rid of, say, 100 MPs who rebel against him. So he's essentially going to have to, I don't know, take it on the chin, I guess, and move on, because it's not binding anyway. So.
And this is why Starmer's authoritarianism has been so disgusting and nasty. This is why they were rigging selections. They were rigging selections in the constituency Labour parties. People were saying it was to purge the left, and that may be tangential. Like, the left were the ones who were going to get purged for this. But really, the actual reality was they were trying to purge anybody who they thought would be problematic and wouldn't vote with the whip. They were selecting based upon loyalty.
Yes.
Now, of course, Starmerism is a right-wing project, and therefore the people who are going to be loyal to it are more likely to be right-wingers. Of course, was going to be the thing. But even some members of the Labour right, as we have seen from the reporting by Pippa Crerar here, even they have some misgivings over this policy for purely optics-based reasons.
Yeah.
And so it's, again, the ones who've been picked so fastidiously during the selection process is based on party loyalty and the ability to essentially be cucked out to the Labour leadership.
Well, I was about to say, it's to leadership loyalty, not to party loyalty.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Hello there, Raiders, by the way. I'm Kevin Logan, socialist from the UK. You should hit the follow button. You should also go and follow my co-hostess with the co-mostess. No Justice MTG on the various platforms.
That you could do. You could do that. You could. Absolutely.
It almost felt like you were going to go northern with it, but you didn't.
I didn't. Yeah.
I'm interested.
I had a mouthful of hot chocolate, and then
Fair enough.
Blowing, and the whips are talking to people and trying to reassure them, say that this is an important part of plugging that black hole that the government say they inherited from the Tories.
So
but there's a lot of
dumb.
wobbles right up at the very...
22 billion.
It was funny because I think most Labour MPs probably not as stupid as this as fucking the leadership are.
Yeah, for reals.
very top as well.
Really? So wobbling already?
I don't think we're yet at the point of a major parliamentary rebellion.
He's
not
got a
least,
huge majority after all.
He does,
massive.
and not least because, of course, there was that rebellion back in July over the two-child benefit cap, which saw 7 Labour MPs suspended from the party for several months. So the whips will be sort of hanging out over people as a threat of what might happen should they decide to go against. But the public feeling is really strong on this, and MPs too.
And Hugh, you're a proud campaigner for the Green Party, but you know this government has vowed to take a very different approach on the environment and on energy. What's your take on what you've seen so far from them?
Yeah, well, yes, I'm on Keir Starmer's side, and my Green Party colleagues want him to do well, but we want him to succeed in those areas with...
See, he's such a posh boy twat.
I'm on his side.
Are you? Okay.
Again, because he's a Green Party member because he likes trees, not because he believes in social justice.
Well, exactly, yeah.
He probably does believe in some level of social justice, but not enough to be as intimately connected enough with politics to know that Keir Starmer is corrupt as fuck.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's another posh boy twat. Again, they're part of the posh boy club. That's just allowed.
Really, really bold policies, not to be timid, and so far he's been a little bit on the timid side, certainly when it comes to...
He's not timid, he's bored.
Putting all his green eggs...
Yeah.
This is the one thing that frustrates me, is that the Green Party, because the Green Party are too nice. They're too nice.
Far too nice, yes.
Yeah, they spend their entire time going, well, and we agree with Keir Starmer, but we're going to be critical, and we're going to push him to be bolder. Like, he's not being timid or not being bold. He is being cucked. Yeah. He is cucked out. That is what he has done.
Yeah. I mean, assuming you don't agree or don't buy into that paradigm, I can understand him using the word timid, because it's literally like the most pathetic fringe everything. And I knew he was going to tinker around the edges, right? But like the removing, a tiny number of arms licenses and leaving the effective vast majority of it is the perfect Starmer analogy for everything. Doing nothing that will please nobody, but pretending you've done something.
I mean, to be fair, the funny part about all of this, the funniest bit, is that it's lumped David Cameron in the shit.
That is
because
true.
now we know that he fucking lied.
Well, we knew. To be fair, we knew that before, but now it's like obviously explicitly so because.
Yeah, it's not just leaks from the chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. It's now that the other government have come in and seen the documents.
The Attorney General came out and said, I did give him that legal advice. Yes. Look, it's fuck. Okay. Yeah. So you should be at the Hague then, David. I mean, you should be already for the bombing of Syria and Libya as well. But let's not get into it. That's a different matter.
My favourite Libya story is how the Manchester Arena bomber was somebody who
I will have to just jump in at this stage. When you say my favourite Libya story and the next sentence is the Manchester Arena bomber, okay. I mean, you are going to have to. This anecdote has to go in a very different direction than it might do.
I mean, it's gruesomely funny at just how awful our state is, right? The Manchester Arena bomber was literally trained and armed by MI5 to go and fight in Libya with the rebels, and then came back to the UK, and then became an Islamist in Libya, and then came back to the UK, and then did the Manchester terror attack using the skills that our country had trained him to go and fight in Libya.
It's a little bit Mujahideen 9/11 sitch. It's a little bit,
isn't it?
Yeah. Your friends become your enemies tomorrow. It's maybe we shouldn't be fucking around in other people's countries for our own geopolitical ends, because not only is it bad in general, but it comes back to bite us on our ass.
It is funny how just how much of British history has been making uneasy alliances with people that we disagree with against mutual enemies, and then breaking those alliances down and then going after them anyway. Like, literally, that's the story of Afghanistan.
I was about to, well, not just Afghanistan, but Afghanistan as part of the British Raj. Like, literally, the entirety of the British Raj is exactly that for 500 years. Well, 400 years, whatever. Yeah, fucking mad shit. There's no group we didn't ally with, and there's no group we didn't backstab. Depending on when it was convenient. In a Machiavellian sense, it was enormously successful. In a moral sense, it's the pits of hell.
Eggs in the energy basket. His own climate change committee have made it very clear that there are many other sectors that require reform and bold policies around climate, including, of course, housing, transport, but also food and farming and nature, which I think was a huge issue in the election, and one of the reasons the Tories were so unpopular, because they just didn't appear to give a damn about our green and pleasant land, and particularly our rivers and our seas.
Okay, well, there is so much to talk about. There was
I suppose the shit in the waters was a thing. But I'm not sure beside that it was a big issue, in all honesty. In fact, what really were the big issues? Just the boats, really, and tax.
The biggest, I mean, the literal biggest thing that everybody talked about and when polled was the NHS.
Oh yeah, but that's true every time. That's like a given. It's the only thing about Britain that everyone likes.
That is true. But it did feel like everybody kept talking. Oh, this is an immigration election. Oh, this is a cost of living election. Oh, this is this is about XYZ policy, a climate election. It was clear from every poll that was done it was an NHS election. People were mad about what happened to the NHS. Every poll had at the top concern of members of the public. It was an NHS election, and nobody saw it. I wonder if this guy's in Adrian Ramsey's constituency.
Well, I don't know.
Him, of course, and we couldn't get to absolutely every single subject, but there is plenty that you are about to hear. 65 days on since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. After 4 years...
And talking of anniversaries, did you know it's the 2-year anniversary of Lizzie being in a box? Lizzie's in a box.
I didn't notice, but now you've told me. Now I'm getting those warm feelings all over again.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, but where did 2 years go? Because that happened last Wednesday, and you can't convince me otherwise. That
but
just
the time
happened.
just disappears nowadays. It's fucking miserable. Hate being old.
Yeah.
3 years as Labour leader and 14 years of the Conservatives in charge. We have heard again and again how he thinks the country has been broken by the Conservatives, whether the economy, the health service, what we saw in the summer riots, or even just trains that don't run on time. But today he vows he will be unpopular.
It's not even just trains not running on time, it's trains not running. We don't have an effective fucking transport infrastructure at all. I know it's not really the point, but it just annoys me. They talk, and you can tell this is why it's so infuriating to having gobshites like this who don't use these services doing these stories. It's like that fucking thing from Question Time when they were like, you can't find a dentist anywhere. Wow, that's amazing. That's the first time I'm hearing of this. Because you don't live in the real world, do you?
Nope.
You live in the Westminster bubble, you live in central London or fucking Chelsea or the home counties. You don't know what Britain is actually like.
Yep.
You've never been to Britain. Actually, talking of the Queen, she used to have a fantastic line. Although I think she meant it tongue-in-cheek. I think she knew what she was doing. She said, because you know when she used to go and visit somewhere in Britain, they'd like tart it up and make it look nice. They'd paint stuff and, you know, clean the streets and move vagrants on and things. And so she used to say, everywhere in Britain smelled like wet paint. The joke being, of course, that they just painted it, so she never actually got to see the real Britain. She got to see the nice new painted bits of Britain. I think she knew what she was doing there. I don't think she was... Look, you can read that as her being completely out of touch, but I don't think she actually was. Anyway. But there you go.
No.
In order to sort it all out. But Labour's plainly delighted to be back in power. Keir Starmer, only the 5th Labour leader to win a general election. So what was it like taking his seat at Cabinet for the first time?
It was a really important moment because it was a moment of great change for the country.
And it was the first time I've had an erection in 7 years.
Change for me and my family. But the chance to do what I came into politics to do. I came into politics relatively late in life. I came in with a clear intention to change the country for the better. It's really hard to do that from opposition. So when we were able to win the election...
He actually came into politics because he was shoehorned into the Holborn and St Pancras seat because they wanted him to be Ed Miliband's Attorney General.
Yeah.
They had no intention of him being party leader until he got scooped up by Labour together to oppose the Corbyn wing.
He really is.
In 2017.
Yeah. He's the accidental Prime Minister.
He literally... He said, I came into politics late in life. I had no intention of going into politics. And you still don't. You're not
exactly.
in politics.
Exactly. You're not in politics. You have McSweeney's hand up your arse, playing you like a fucking glove puppet.
With a good mandate for change, and come in here to the cabinet room and sit down for the first time as a team. It was a really important moment, a moment of change, and the beginning of the next stage of the journey for the country, which is very, very important.
Did you have to pinch yourself at all?
Well, you do, as you walk in the door, as I walked for the first time, as you know, I walked up Downing Street, lots of people there, friends, supporters, people I'd known a long time. Then
no, on an individual personal level, I've got no problems with him being like happy about that. Like, you can tell from the smug expression on his face that he's like, yeah, that was fucking awesome. I became Prime Minister and I walked up Downing Street. And like, yeah, I get that. You'd be thrilled, obviously. But then you think, he was walking up Downing Street to fuck the country. Take that smug smile and wipe it off your face, you fucking grinning dope. You're a fucking prick, mate.
I think that he might be so lost in the bubble now that he's become essentially still convinced that this is stuff that he has to do, right? Maybe I'm being too kind to him, but maybe he just still he's so deluded about all of the people that he's had to stab in the back and all the lies he's had to tell, because it's clear that he just keeps lying basically for no reason whatsoever, like lying about people, lying about a football chant. He lied about an Arsenal football chant for no reason whatsoever because he just can't stop himself now, because I think he's been told that he has to do it because that's politics, and just hasn't noticed that he's corrupt. That's the thing. The fact that he keeps lying and it's so obvious, I think he knows damn well what's happening. I think he knows exactly what he is and what he represents, and I think he doesn't care. Like all power-hungry fucking twats. Or even, well, I don't think, like you say, he accidentally sort of came into this position. But once he saw the opportunity to become powerful, I think he was like, oh yeah, let's fucking do that. That's awesome. And you become basically the same person, whether you set out to become Prime Minister or whether you saw your opportunity and grabbed for it. Is sort of irrelevant. I don't think these people fucking care, fundamentally. No. I mean, if you look at somebody like Corbyn, it's a miracle that he went through what he went through and didn't come out the other side like a jaded, conniving piece of shit like the rest of them. It's
miraculous. Honest to God. Anyone who goes into that fucking den of snakes... What's the old phrase from the Star Wars? Was it the most evil hive of scum and villainy?
Scum
or whatever?
And villainy.
Yeah. It's literally that. If you can walk into that fucking den of just fucking ghoulish demon evil creatures, literally lizards in human suits, and not become like a jaded, cynical old fuck, you are honestly sort of divine, maybe? I don't know. You're not human. You're not normal. You're something slightly better than that. And that's... That's enormously to your credit, and indeed to your upbringing, I think.
Especially in his case, when not only did he have to see all of like the horse trading and the immoral actions of the political class from behind closed doors, he also got his reputation fucking destroyed for the sake of it as well, and still came out being a gracious loser.
And he's still like just this chill old dude now. Yeah. Whereas there are people like, and I don't want to just pick on her, but Jess Phillips, she annoys me. Because there's stuff from her from like, not even that long ago, where she was vaguely kind of based, and she's like, oh no, Tories are fucking arseholes, on her way up. And then as soon as she got to as soon as she got to Westminster, she just became a part of the blob. She just became a part of the fucking, the system. And now
The morass.
she's completely like lost in the sauce. She's completely gone. She's not really fundamentally a human anymore. None of those people are. Yeah. Anyway, so the likes of Corbyn are fucking amazing creatures. That's why I really respect Mary Black.
Yeah.
For stepping aside, because I think she could feel herself like the poison getting into her soul, and she went, "No, I don't want to become this. I don't want any part of this." So she stepped the fuck away. I respect enormously that.
Yeah.
Stood with Vic at the door opens and you walk in, and that is the moment that I think I really took it in, that we got the chance to change the country. We own all the problems, of course, but actually the hard work was able to start then.
What you couldn't know on the morning that you walked through is that for days through the summer there was a series of riots in 20 towns and cities across our country. On Friday, a man called Thomas Burley, who was part of a group that attacked a hotel housing asylum seekers, who was described as having a white supremacist mindset, was giving the longest sentence so far. Over 1,000 people have been arrested over this. You said the riots showed there was a...
Yes, he got 9 years, didn't he, for setting a fire. And it just goes to show you, terrorism doesn't pay.
No, it doesn't. Or to be fair, I think 9 years was way too short of a sentence.
It is pretty ridiculous, but it's still, it's not nothing, and that's nice.
No, it's enough to get the hashtag Back Boris Brigade fucking seething, and if anything is worth it, that is worth it.
Is it what? Hang on. Latest crime on the Jumbly Crumbles to the weird Labour. Is this a thing they're now pushing? I don't remember this story. Jeremy Corbyn showed off a naked Diane Abbott. Apparently this is a story. So the incident took place in 1979. The Labour leader former Labour leader now I guess, invited fellow activists to his London flat, where they were shaken to find Miss Abbott in a bed, one of his friends recalled. What? That obviously didn't happen. What are you talking about?
I mean, probably lots of things happened between Diane Abbott and Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. The idea that they fucked is fine, but there's no way he brought people back to view her naked and could be like, "Here, Diane Abbott in the news.
I have bedded the woman. I have bedded a woman. Everybody. Yeah. I find that.
Or maybe he had her on one of those turning wall things, so she was revealed like a fucking prize at the end of Bullseye. And now your special prize, Diane Abbott. In one.
And this is reported in the Telegraph, so take that what you will.
Indeed. Yeah, so that just didn't happen. It's like whenever you hear Elon Musk going on about, there was a crime outside of the building I work at. This country's gone to... No, it didn't. That didn't happen. You made that up. That's a lie.
Societal black hole. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that was that the riots, I think, were symbolic of a broken society. Now, I'm not going to justify for 1 minute the violence in those riots. They are not capable of justification. They were not protest. They were far right in the main. But underneath that, I think there was a societal black hole, a breaking of our society, which we need to mend. The immediate problem was to regain control of the situation, to make sure we had enough police across the country to police on the front line, to make sure we had prosecutors and courts able to process the cases and get people sentenced very quickly. I was really clear that we needed to ensure that if somebody was throwing a rock, a plank, or trying to set fire to a hotel on a Saturday or Sunday night, within a week they ought to be starting a prison sentence. And by and large, difficult though that was, we managed to achieve...
Well, that's not... Hang on a minute. You're a lawyer, mate. That's not how that works. Unless they plead guilty, which you obviously can't guarantee, because they're free to plead in any way they so wish. And they wouldn't be fucking... In any normal circumstance, they wouldn't be sentenced either. It's only because you expedited the sentencing, which, by the way, I think was a good decision. It was one of the few good decisions he made during that time. But to say that you should be serving a prison sentence within a week is not realistic. That's ridiculous, and he knows that. That's just bullshit. He's just saying words again.
Achieve that, which I think played a big part in bringing order to what was a very dangerous situation. That attempt to set fire to a hotel in Rotherham with people inside was particularly chilling.
But do you think the rioters were racists?
I think the far right. I think there was racism there. I think it featured differently across the country. I went over to Belfast, for example, to talk to them.
Well, thankfully there are no racists in Northern Ireland. It's a perfectly normal place with absolutely sound. All of the people there are awesome.
Absolutely, there's been no history of any sectarianism whatsoever.
No, they're just like live and let live. Everyone's got their own shit to deal with. Ulster says, whatever.
Police service in Northern Ireland, who had petrol bombs thrown at them, and there's no doubt there was racism there. So there was racism far right, but it was totally illegitimate.
Also, just you can't answer a question straight, can I? Do you think these people are racist? Just say, yeah, a lot of them were racist.
Yeah.
Yes, actually. The guy who was walking around in Sunderland, who had the fucking literal swastika tattoo, I reckon he might have had some racial issues. Yeah.
Also, I'm frustrated that we're not specifically calling, like, the attacks on hotels. I'm frustrated we're not calling them terror attacks. Because they are terror attacks. They
are. I understand why he wouldn't, just for legal reasons. Because there's definitely, like, if you try and bring a case against someone, they could absolutely have it thrown out on the basis of you can't get a fair trial for a terrorist accusation if the Prime Minister's already fucking outed you as that. Like, that I think would be, like, you're making it sub judice at that point. Like, I get that. But yeah, in general, I think the media and a lot of the commentariat would do well to call it what it is, which is terrorism. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was an extra military peacetime attack against civilians used for political ends. It's textbook terrorism.
It was a fucking pogrom. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It is not acceptable in any society. And yes, I accept that, across the country.
And I was reading actually, and this happens obviously, you get more sort of details that come out. I was reading some of the accounts from the staff members in that hotel, and there's like a safe room in case there's like a attempted robbery or some shit like that. And they were in there, and they were also like they were texting family members because they thought they were going to die. Like, it was honestly some of the most chilling shit. Fucking evil. And again, you put it into that context, and all of a sudden, you only got 9 years. You fucking joking? So what, he could be out in 4. Brilliant. Fucking excellent.
Strong views about things like immigration. I accept that, but I'm not prepared to tolerate that sort of disorder under any circumstances, nor will I change government policy one bit as a result of that sort of violence.
Do you think we're a racist country?
I don't think we're a racist country. I think we're a country...
Oh God, he's Lawrence Fox. Oh no. We're the least racist country in Europe, says massive racist.
Thing is that I think we probably are one of the less racist countries in Europe, but the less racist country in Europe is still racist.
Yeah, just less. Also, being less racist than Serbia, like...
I mean, Croatia's even worse than Serbia.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too rude, but like...
Yeah.
The Serbs have that reputation for a fucking reason. So you as speaking to an international audience, like, being less racist than where Milosevic was from. Like, just... Again, it's not quite the flex you think it is, you know?
Decent people, tolerant people. The real Britain was the people who came out the day after in Southport. It was incredible. People came out with their trowels, with their brooms, they cleaned up, they rebuilt. They're the real face of Britain. And that's the Britain that I think...
What about the counter-protesters?
Neil, what about the anti-fascists who are the ones who actually regained control of those cities? Because they weren't scared of the police, because the police were there. And, they had bricks thrown.
Well, that's because the nanny state means the police can't do anything anymore.
Well,
they're too scared in case they're considered racist or two-tier.
Exactly. 2-tier policing. Fact. What was I going to say? I can't remember. Oh yeah, on the point of the fantastic Frankie Boyle joke about, was it Serbia is the least racist country in Europe, having murdered all of its racist inhabitants or something. No.
It's murder. They've murdered all of their. They've murdered all of their minorities. All the minorities are now gone from Serbia because they've been murdered or kicked out, and people from us are too scared to go there. That there is absolute racial harmony because all of the racists have no minorities to get mad at.
True. Now it's just the gays.
Yeah.
Even if they're good Serbian guys.
Essential to reuniting and bringing this country back together.
But do you think that leaders in this country, perhaps also if you look at what we've seen in Germany, also look at what's happened in France, do you think that leaders have been complacent about the rise of the far right?
I am worried about the rise of the far right. I mean, we can see what's happening in Germany with the recent elections, see what's happening in France and other countries.
Where they had a left-wing coalition in Parliament, and the president just ignored that and put in a bigoted little cunt as the Prime Minister. That thing that happened, Kia?
And I'm worried about the far right because it's the sort of snake oil
Although
of
they
the
are,
easy answer.
They are hosting a very good Paralympics, I have to say. Well played on that one, France. But the fascism thing, you should get on that.
I'm convinced that the answer to it is delivery in government. So the best argument against the far right, best argument against the easy answer, is to deliver, to bring about the change that we promised we'd bring about. And that change was to improve living standards so people are better off.
He's actually, annoyingly, he's correct. But he's correct in an entirely dishonest way. The way to defeat fascism is to improve living standards. It is to remove the necessity for people to have a scapegoat. Because if you're doing all right, you don't look for a fucking scapegoat because everything's fine. You just get on with your life. But he's not actually trying to do any of that. He's just interested in servicing capital, as all of these fucking evil bastards are.
Yay! Doing the bidding of Martin Taylor and Clive Hollick.
We got properly functioning public services, particularly the NHS, and to deal with issues like immigration and crime and sewage. We have to deliver on that, and that's why I'm utterly focused on ensuring we can bring about that change in the period that we've got in government.
Talking there about people feeling great discontent with what the state of this country, many of our viewers will have been appalled not just by seeing the publication of the report into the Grenfell fire this week, but also very distressed that years later there are still people living in unsafe buildings, many of whom might be watching this morning. Can you tell people who cannot right now sleep easy in their beds when they will have their homes made safe?
First, I accept it's my duty of this government and everybody in a position of responsibility to make sure they are safe in their home. We will accelerate the programme. I'm frustrated that it's going as slowly as it is to deal with the cladding. A lot of that is to find sort of true responsibility and to hold people to account for getting on with the job. The money is there, the intention is there. We need to move more quickly on it.
So by when will people who are watching this, who are living in blocks that are unsafe, will they be able to sleep easy in their beds without the fear of a cladding fire?
We're speeding up the process. I want to get this done as quickly as possible. Each block will be on a different timetable. I'm not able to give you an end date, but I can tell you I meant what I said when I responded to the report. I said this has to be a turning point. It does, and we need to speed that up and get on with it as quickly as possible.
Forgive me, Prime Minister, during the election campaign, you made great play of how ready you were, how much preparation you had done, how much you were going to walk in this building and get things done. And then today, you can't give us a date, a deadline, which is what people want to know. When will they be able to sleep easy in their beds? It is years since the Grenfell fire. It is years that you had in opposition. Everybody knew this was coming. You cannot be surprised by what this report has come out with. And this is about people who are, as of this moment...
He is surprised by it because he never cared in the first place. He fundamentally doesn't give a fuck about these people. Like, literally, imagine that. I should have fucking responded to it when he said it, but the thing there where he said we need to find out who, responsibility. No, you don't. Not right now. You need to stop people from burning to death. Get the cladding removed and find out who's at fault later. That's fine. And if they need to go to jail, they need to go to jail, or whatever malfeasance has taken place.
Yeah, the thing is,
or you're going to do the investigation, all whilst people are living in essentially a fucking fire hazard waiting to happen. Like, no, fix it.
Exactly. They're first of all absolutely fix it, and also say, well, we need to find out who's to blame. We know who's to blame. It's Eric Pickles and fucking Iconic. They're OJ. They're guilty as fuck.
Yeah, true. Eric Pickles needs to face the full justice of the law. Let's leave it there. Especially because that trebuchet has a maximum weight, and I'm not sure he falls under it. Just saying. Thank you, Wayward Historian. I'm a fat prick too. I'm allowed to do that joke. Sure. Well, thank you, Wayward Historian, for gifting us up to 255. Much love.
Not safe in their own homes.
Let me acknowledge that this has taken far too long. 7 years. This is not unique. We've had no end of injustices that have taken very many years to come to any sort of outcome, and this is not the final outcome. But you're in charge now. Why can't you give
was Nazism left wing?
What being in charge is responsibility. The responsibility to make sure this happens as soon as possible. The first thing that therefore needs to happen, and the Deputy Prime Minister is doing this, is going through the books, going through the buildings, identifying where work has been done, where work hasn't been done, who's responsible, and putting in a place to make sure that we can accelerate that as quickly as possible. That work is ongoing. You can't do that in opposition because you simply don't have access to the material, but we're on it, we're working at pace, and we will bring the same mindset to this as I brought to the disorder, which is get people around the table, make the ask of them, the requirement.
Well, with the disorder, you said you wanted everybody in court within a week. You know, you are the Prime Minister now.
Yeah. Well done, Laura. Can we get a special smiley face sticker for Laura? She did a journalism on the fly there. Did you see? Because she juxtaposed him saying, I want people in prison in a week, with, well, I can't give you an exact date. Maybe we'll sort it out at some point or something. Well done, Laura. Honestly, I am so proud of you, Laura. You're becoming a big girl journalisms.
Some people would want you to hear you say, you know what, in a year, everybody will be safe. In 2 years, everybody will be safe. What's your ambition on this? Because
why is it 2 years? You honestly think 2 years is an acceptable time frame for this? Like, I don't think he will have had it done in 2 years because I don't think it'll be done ever. I honestly don't think the establishment give two fucks about this. They're happy for poor people to die. Yeah.
Yeah, they've had 7 years already, and
nothing. Fuck all's happened basically. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was going to be done already, it would have been done by now.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to. But I'm at just the lack of giving a fuck about these people. Do you think in 2 years? Do you think you could be bothered within 2 years? No, get it done now. Have it done by the end of the fucking year.
And that's what came out from the inquiry as well. As people didn't bother caring about these people because they didn't see them as people.
Yeah. And clearly that hasn't changed, even with the change of government. They couldn't give less of a fuck. This could be done by Christmas, and they won't.
For years, people, victims of Grenfell, their families, and people who are in unsafe blocks have heard politicians...
How many... Well, that's a very good question, 8DX man. No one's entirely sure how many buildings need to be cladded or recladded or whatever. Because, again, they don't care enough to actually really look into it all that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is thousands of buildings. I think
it's a lot. It is
cladding.
A lot. Yeah,
it is a lot of them, and the fact that we had another cladding fire last month.
Yeah,
and just, again, and
although
as I said,
that was a slightly different
well,
material, but it's essentially the same problem. Yes,
exactly. And I said on Novara as well, all four of the Tory MPs who were asked to give evidence to the Grenfell inquiry, all four of them received peerages on knighthoods.
Yeah,
disgraceful.
But Eric Pickles did get to his lunch that day, so I think we can all be happy about that. That was nice.
True.
I'm glad that happened because I wouldn't want him to miss a meal.
For years, promised that they were going to speed
your big
it up,
plate,
promised
Eric.
that they were going to accelerate it. It's exactly the kind of frustration that you yourself say you've heard and you understand, and yet here you are today, unable to give them a firm promise.
Well, I'm not going to give a false promise. I think there've been too many.
Oh yeah, heaven forbid. Of course, that's not what you're known for at all. A man of absolute scrupulous honesty will only give you his say-so when he knows he can follow through on it. And by follow through on it, I mean literally take a shit on it.
Again, like, it's just the barefaced like temerity and cheek of Keir Starmer to just say that with a straight face when his political history is just entirely based upon
the fucking
hoodwinking people.
The brass neck on the prick. Literally every fucking claim you've ever made, every promise you've ever made is bullshit. It means nothing. And you just like
less than nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, I know. Actually, this thing is actually it means every promise he's ever made means one thing. It means one very specific thing that you know he'll do the opposite.
True. Exactly. I'd like him to come out and say, "No, fuck him. I want them all to burn to death." Because then I'd be like, "Oh shit, he's going to do something. Oh, cool, awesome." Because he literally does the opposite thing. That's the thing that he does. Also, what a shitpost that would be if the Prime Minister said that.
True. Would have been peak memes. Well, thank you, Jack, for 20 gifted. It's appreciated.
People have given numbers and dates which they've plucked from the sky, which are not meaningful. I'm not going to do that. I know that the work is going on to identify what blocks need work on, how we accelerate it. The money has been allocated. A lot of this now is identifying and pushing those who are really responsible to do this to do the work that they are required to do. If we need more powers to do that, we'll pass those powers.
Would you like to see people in jail because of what happened at Grenfell?
The last thing I want to do is to prejudice any possible cases. Of course I want the police.
Motherfucker. I want these people in jail a week after it happens. I don't want to prejudice any case against a rich person. No, that would be silly. Look, no one's saying, dickhead, you have to come out and say, the CEO of this company, John blah-de-blah, deserves to go to prison. No, just say in general, you know, if someone's committed fucking crimes and led to the death of people, yeah, they should probably go to jail. Yeah, actually. For fuck's sake. Again, and he's a lawyer, so there's no excuse. He knows how it works.
Exactly. It's really silly that he just... The prevarication, it's almost the same as the way in which that he approaches Russia and Israel.
True.
To complete their investigations, and we'll give them all the support that they need. And appropriate cases should go through to court. But the worst thing I could do, or anybody could do, for the families of the bereaved, the survivors, the community, the worst thing we could do is to say or do anything which would prejudice the outcome of any proceedings, including criminal proceedings.
It's been a very eventful few months already. One of the decisions also that has attracted a huge amount of attention and has very much upset some of our viewers is your decision to remove winter fuel allowance from the majority of pensioners. As you know, our viewers like to give us questions for politicians, and Ray Bosdet, who voted for you, wrote in to say, I thought I might regret my vote within a year. I certainly didn't think I would regret it by the first decision made by the new government to attack the pensioners.
That's a great way of putting it. Oh, love it. I mean, he's probably like a millionaire or some shit, so whatever, but still.
Those
you know what's great, right? You know what's really good? Not regretting your vote because you didn't vote for the fucking Labour Party.
True. Honestly, I've never felt more vindicated this quickly. Yeah.
Go on to strike to show our disgust. What do you say to Ray, who voted for you and feels terribly let down by this decision?
What I say to Ray and to...
What I say to Ray is put on a jumper, you cunt. Peace out. And then he just gets up and leaves. Oh, you know, I'd vote for him. I'd vote for him.
Many people who will have concerns, who are watching this and listening to this, is that we were voted into office to bring about change, to make sure we improve living standards, make people feel better off, to improve public services.
Yeah, you know what's a really great way of improving living standards? Freezing pensioners to death.
True. But you know what? The beauty of hypothermia is that you do feel very warm towards the end, apparently. Apparently it's a very peaceful way to go. Is literally a thing that I'm sure the Labour Party will say. Yeah.
So the line you're going with is, well, at least you're going to die. At least you're going to die peacefully.
It's either that or dying in a fucking house fire because your house is clad in, you know, crazy shit. So, count yourself lucky, old people.
I deal with immigration and issues like that. I am absolutely clear in my own mind that we can't bring about that change if we don't fix the fundamentals and stabilise our economy. I'm absolutely clear. In the same way, Laura, as I was 4 or 5 years ago when you were interviewing me and I said in order for Labour to win an election, we have to change the Labour Party.
Into the Tory party.
Party, again, the Carla Denyer meme, absolutely.
Equally clear in my mind, in order to deliver the change, which we will deliver, we have to...
Stop saying change!
Yeah.
Stop fucking saying change!
Not just that,
Oh my
but
God.
stop saying the change we will deliver, which, by the way, you've never really set out and you aren't intending to do. You need to stop saying change and do change at some point. Otherwise, it's just you're just saying words. It doesn't mean anything.
Fix the foundations now.
And fix the fucking foundation! Honestly, you're in for a dual triggering tonight, chat.
Oh my God, we clearly with a whole new Starmer in office bingo card.
Yeah. Fucking, they've come up with the dickheads behind the scenes have come up with fix the foundations, and they're just going to run with that meme for the next fucking 10 years or something. Oh God, I hate it already. Oh.
So thank you, Uforth, with the $5 Canadian. Opinions on AOC's criticisms of the US Green Party. Your sort of agreeing is they don't seem concerned with building power compared to the UK Greens. I guessed it on a piece about that on Novara Media. If you watch that, you'll get my full opinion on that.
Fair enough.
Tough decisions. The first thing the Chancellor did when she walked through the door next door was to audit the books. What she found was a £22 billion black hole this year. Now, she had a choice, pretend it isn't there, walk past it, or deal with it.
No,
we said we're going to deal with it.
I just want to stop you there.
Is he talking like the £20 billion black hole was literally like an actual black hole in the room? And she was like, actually, she turned her head to the right and noticed the black hole. Instead of just walking past it, we'll put it there with the rest of the fire. She actually noticed, there's a black hole. Maybe we should deal with that, which doesn't even exist because half of it is shit that they decided to do in government.
Indeed. Welcome in, Raiderinos. Thank you, James from the internets, for raiding in. Much love. Everyone go and follow James from the internet. Obviously.
Ladies and gentlemen,
do it.
Everyone hit the follow button as well. Obviously, I'll turn the alert box off because that's a lot of fucking follows, and I'm not listening to the Yankee Tanky say victory is ours 20 fucking times. Right.
Is that still your follower?
It is. Yes.
Must be fair, mine's still Ash Sarkar, so I've not updated mine in years.
True, but at least your one's based as fuck. My one's a mentalist.
I mean, it's fun. It's very funny stuff.
True. Anyway, the point being, yes, hello there. I'm Kevin Logan, socialist from the UK. I just waved to my camera, even though it's not fucking on.
Mine just run out of battery art as well, so it's going to be just voice tonight.
You know what? Don't bother following me. I'm not worth it. I'm not worth bothering with. Just forget that I exist. Fuck it. No, I'm only joking. Hit the follow button. Yes, Lizzie is in a box. 2-year anniversary, everyone. Can we get some crab dances in the emotes in the chat, please, people? Let's go. Yes, everyone also go and follow No Justice MTG, my co-hostess with the co-mostess. Someone give her a shout out in the chats. No, not if they want to. Even if they don't want to, go and fucking do it, you pricks.
Do it.
Anyway, thank you T- for gifting a sub as well. Much love. Yeah, we're looking at an interview with the Prime Minister, a man you've never heard. Honestly, Americans, you don't know who this person is, and that's fine. He's like a metaphysical kind of concept of non-entityness. He's like a poetic description of the inside of a ping pong ball.
Also, thank you, Jack Muller, for the £10 super chat. 4 to 5 years ago, Keir was conning his party membership with consumerist communism. Now he's conning the country with good vibes neoliberalism. Yeah, Keir the con man.
True.
Con man Keir.
True. Thank you, T- for gifting a sub to, well, someone we referenced earlier, Grandpa Simpson. Which is lovely.
Hey!
Love it. Love a bit of Grandpa.
22 billion. I want everybody watching this to know and understand that nearly half of that 22 billion, £9 billion, comes from decisions that your government has made to give many public sector workers
You're doing journalism again! What is 2 journalisms? 2 whole journalisms in one interview? What's happened to her?
Honestly, did she take? Was she accidentally journalism spiked on holiday or something? Did she ingest some journalism? Did she maybe go to like a real newspaper or something, and she got like a contact high of journalism?
Has a journalist like is wearing her like a human suit, like in Men in Black?
Yeah. If you peel back her skin, it's just Jeremy Paxman. He's bored in retirement, so he decided to wear her like a fucking like that alien from Men in Black. No, I want sugar water. More.
Above inflation, including junior doctors getting 22% of an increase over 2 years. So again, when it comes to winter fuel allowance, that was a choice. It was a political decision for the reasons that you say. You want to sort out the economy, but how can you justify it to viewers who feel like it is an attack on some people who've worked hard all their lives? They're not wealthy, they don't have money to spare, and this year, if it's cold, they're going to be looking at the thermostat and wondering if they can pay their bills.
Let me take that head on, because it's a really important point. The last government set up the pay review mechanism.
What's the over-under, chat? What's the over-under that he doesn't actually tackle this point head-on and prevaricates around it?
Well, in the same way that when he says, let me be clear, you know you're about to get the least clear answer ever. Yeah,
true.
Obviously, like that needs to be a thing. Maybe the new "let me be clear" is "let me tackle that head on."
Because I bet you he won't actually answer the idea that it was a political choice and they're lying about calling it a 22 billion black hole that was left to them by the Tories, when really it was a 6 billion black hole because that was the overspend of the Home Office.
Yeah. Also, if he continues to do the line "let me take that head on," it's obviously going to have to spawn, I should say, a guillotine-based meme about "let me take that head off."
True.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just asking for leftists to absolutely cook him. He's not even in the kitchen.
As every government does, every year. And they set the framework for that. And they knew that the pay review recommendations would come back. What they didn't do was allocate any money at all to the outcome. Now, that is not a good way to approach pay settlements. Of course, there was a number allocated. They just didn't put it on the books. Can I deal with the second point? Because I think it is important on winter fuel allowance. This is really tough, and I do get that it's tough. It's not easy, and no Prime Minister wants to take a decision like this. But the winter fuel payments are now to be targeted.
Actually, hang on one sec. When he said, "Oh well, the number was there, but they didn't put it on the books," yeah, it's an independent pay review body recommendation. It's a recommendation that the independent pay review bodies give.
Yeah, it's not the Exchequer, you prick. Where the fuck do you think they're getting that money from? They're saying this is what. Basically, they're handing you the check that you have to pay. They're not the ones paying it, are they?
And because you're free to just ignore the advice of the independent pay review bodies. You're free to do that. Again, it's frustrating because it's clearly correct. It's clearly the correct choice to make.
Yeah.
To end the strikes because it costs more to keep them going than not. Yeah. I wonder if he'll make that point, because it's clear that we spaffed loads of money away from the state on indemnifying a bunch of the private sector subcontractors that were being undermined by the industrial action. So it would be easy to say, well, we spaffed loads of money, we had to stop that. I'm not sunk cost fallacying this shit. Let's just get these sorted and move on. Because that would be correct. But they've dug themselves a hole by including it in this 22 billion pound black hole that they can't just say what the truth is. Because these people are addicted to lying.
No, it's because he's in hock to his union paymasters.
I literally heard TLDR News call them union bosses today. And I'm like, there is no such thing as a union fucking boss.
Yeah, there is. The CEO of Union. Yeah. Fucking ludicrous. Honestly, the Conservative brain rot at the heart of the British establishment needs to be studied. Because it's fucking... Yeah. It's wild.
Before, and I think everybody thought that wasn't a particularly good system, so it needed to be targeted. Obviously, those most in need will continue to get the payment. All of those.
Okay, but what about the ones slightly not the most in need? Because they're also still in a lot of need, and they're going to die, Kia. you are going to kill them. Well, technically the cold is going to kill them, but you are preventing them from being able to afford to defend themselves.
Exactly.
Pension credit will get the payment.
Just for clarification, I'm not suggesting he's literally going to kill them. Although I don't know what he's going to get up to. You could probably get away with it as Prime Minister. Like, I reckon MI5 probably give you like 10 hits for free or something, you know what I mean?
It's so simple to understand as a concept, right? Old people need warmer homes because they're frailer. Therefore, we equal the playing field by giving them allowance. It's really simple to explain to somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just like so difficult for these people to be normal about it.
Yeah, like if it's cold here, I put on a jumper because I'm a young-ish person. It's fine. Old motherfucker, they need the thermostat up to 100. You go into an old person's house in the winter, and you will absolutely start sweating instantly. I've come out of my father's house desiccated before. I've literally been rendered moistnessless by the temperature of his fucking hellish house, okay? And that's fine, because he's an old fucking frail old man. That's just the way it goes. But Keir Starmer's making it impossible for old people to basically survive. Or some old people. Most of them will still be absolutely fine, but I don't really give a fuck. Like, yeah, Keith Richards will be able to heat every fucking wing of his mansion, but I don't fucking care about him. I want you to govern for, like, the bottom 95%, basically. Because the top 5% will take care of themselves, which, by the way, is why you should tax them a lot.
Exactly.
To get as many people onto pension credit as we can. We want to align housing benefit with pension credit, something that wasn't done by the last government, which will improve the situation. And of course, this is really important.
Thing is, as well, is
by
that
ensuring we're fixing.
What's funny is that they are increasing the amount people are going to be getting because from pension credit, and they are going to try and expand housing benefit and try and get more people to claim pension credit, which makes no sense because now what's going to happen is more people are going to be claiming money from the state anyway, and you'll undo all of the savings that you were supposedly going to get from getting rid of the winter fuel allowance in extra housing benefit and in extra recipients of pension credit. So you're not actually. So if the whole point was to save money, you've not really saved any fucking money.
Exactly. Again, it's just tinkering at the edges that annoys everyone and achieves fuck all. That's the entirety of his governing strategy, it appears. Just tinker around the edges and piss everyone off.
Yeah, although Ash in chat saying he's trying to demolish the Tory vote by just annihilating its base so he can win by default again in a few years.
Jesus Christ!
Like, I mean, funny as that comment is, there are plenty of poor pensioners who probably still vote Labour to this day.
Yeah, absolutely
Most pensioners mostly vote Tory because pensioners are quite rich in comparison to everybody because they have the housing wealth that they've accrued a lot of the time. But the people who are going to be most hurt by this are going to be a lot of people who are just on state pension and a very small private pension, which probably are going to come from Labour heartland voters. He's going to fucking piss off what little of that demographic already voted for them. And the ones who already vote Tory, they're going to be the ones who are going to survive because they're rich enough to afford to heat their home without the winter fuel payment.
True.
The foundations. By ensuring we've got economic stability, something that's been missing for the last few years, we can absolutely commit, and we do, to the triple lock. And what that means, Laura, which is really important, is that the increase in the state pension will outstrip any loss for pensioners of the winter fuel payment. So that is really, really important.
Have been living with inflation, but this we've still got other things to talk about. But I just want to briefly ask you.
No, but Laura, I mean, what you say there is really important because talking to many pensioners in the last 2 or 3 years, the things that have hit them most and hardest are inflation, because it got out of control of the last government, energy bills, because the steps that were needed to be taken years ago weren't taken, and the cost of living. I'm determined that no pensioner will ever be put through that before. That's why we're fixing the foundations now.
Oh,
oh my God!
You are going to have to put up, chat, with me screaming at him saying that phrase for a long time. So just buckle in, because it's happening. Okay, we're all just going to have to come to terms with me getting triggered every 5 seconds this prick talks.
See, like the sad part is that I would love if my phone hadn't run out of battery, I probably would have uploaded this as a segment, and I could have had like a ticker at the bottom for every time he says the word change and every time he says the words fixing the foundations.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that from now on, I think. Definitely.
Though that may be.
And for some of your MPs, the decision is too tough. Some of them are deeply worried about it. If a Labour MP votes against you this week when winter fuel is debated in the House of Commons, will you suspend them or kick them out of the party?
Well, that'll be a matter for the Chief Whip, and
You're the
we'll
Prime
assess that
Minister.
as we
You
go
must have a
along.
That's ridiculous. That's a matter for the Chief Whip, like it's an independent decision that the Chief Whip makes. Like he's not your fucking employee, basically. You're such a fucking grubby little shit.
I hate him.
Everything
really
he says
him.
is just the most dishonest way you can say it. Oh, that's up for the Chief Whip to decide. Like, what, you don't have any input to this at all.
Well,
That's
the
a
Chief
totally
Whip
independent
answers
position.
to you.
Exactly, yeah, the Chief Whip literally goes to Downing Street and you tell them what to do. That's how that works, for fuck's sake. No, not the Cheese Whip, that's a different thing.
But we're going into a vote. I'm glad we're having a vote, because I think it's very important for Parliament to speak on this. But every
Oh yeah,
member
I'm sure you're delighted.
was elected in on the same mandate.
I hate
as
to do
I
another
was, which is
adult
to deliver the
cartoon
change.
reference, but they said deliver the fucking change again. I can't believe I'm going to have a fucking aneurysm. But it actually reminds me of that scene in Family Guy where Lois is running to be the mayor, and
9/11.
Adam West is like, but Adam West, when he responds, is like, "That's an excellent question. I love when I get asked questions, because an answer without a question is just a statement, and it's just a bunch of meaningless word salad, which is exactly like every politician ever has spoken. And Keir Starmer is like the absolute apogee of that.
Yeah, true.
That we need for the country over the time we've got in office. I am absolutely convinced that we will only deliver that change. I'm absolutely determined we will.
Oh my god!
Honestly, even without the camera on, you do need to put this up, because that was an amazing response. Someone clip that growl.
Oh, shut up! Oh my god! The things I do for money.
True.
Do the difficult things now. I know they're unpopular. I know they're difficult. Of course they're tough choices. But it's a bit like, I don't know, building a house. If you know your foundations are rotten, if you know you've got damp or cracks, you can paint.
Well, that's
over
not
it.
building a house, because if it's already got foundations, it's already built. What are you talking about?
I mean, people make like bad analogies on the fly, and it's clear that that's what he's done here.
Yeah.
But it's just got like, it's funny to me. He's got like, well, I've done this whole like foundations thing, the whole of this conversation that we've had. So, what's the thing that has foundations? Houses. It's like houses. We're building 1.5 million houses. Did you know that? That's one of our policies.
Honestly,
I'm better at this than he is.
He's just glitching out. He's just got foundation Tourette's. That's what's happening there. Thank you, Scott, with Bitty Bits. Much love. Don't forget, everyone, if you want to make, I don't know, the therapy bills that both of us will have after this more manageable, you can do so with subs and bit messages, and you can give subs to the community. You can become a member for as little as 99p.
It's cheaper than a can of Red Stripe,
It is.
which I'll need.
Exactly, I will need lots of it, because that is piss water, and it will be fucking 20 cans to get drunk on it. But anyway, the point being, you can do super chats as well, which we'll read out. Well, individually, you get the idea.
But we will only read out super chats on my side if it isn't rude, and if on Kev's side if it is rude.
True.
It and pretend that you've got a beautiful new house, and within 6 months it all falls apart. Or you can say, we're going to strip it down, we're going to fix the foundations, and what then will happen?
Does he think people paint foundations? Again, it's such a bad analogy. That's not how the foundations are, like under the ground, mate. You don't decorate them in any way.
The hope is there. What then happens is you've got a much better house at the end of the exercise, a country built to last, and that's what I'm determined we're going to bring about in the time that we've got in office.
I know a note there you said it's unpopular. Are you willing
I
to
like there's something interesting of the psychology of using the phrase "in the time we've got in office" when you've just become Prime Minister, because that suggests he's not planning on being there very long.
But there are 10 years of national renewal, of which we have to have the debt down by half of that. not by the end of that for some arbitrary reason that we're not going to explain right now.
But it is a golden rule that can't be broken, even though it's literally completely arbitrary, and we can't explain why we came to that conclusion at all. We will not show our workings, okay?
Popular. We're going to have to be unpopular. Our tough decisions are tough decisions.
That's such a cope. Yeah, there's no way we could possibly govern in a way that didn't make people despise us.
Thing is, because if they were popular, then that would be close to populism, and as we all know, chat, populism is bad. Why is it bad? Dunno. But it is, because it's got the bad word in it, which is populist. We have to be unpopular. And that's the funny thing, is he could be popular, he could be really popular, but he would be popular with 95% of this country who are not massively wealthy, rather than being unpopular with the 5% who are the ones who pay his bills and buy him his suits, and who he gives number 10 passes to.
I think they're called owners. That's what they're usually, when you have a pet, the person who like feeds them is the owner of that creature.
No, let's not get into what Keir and his wife get up to at night.
By the way, Kieran, still waiting on that anal sex news, mate. What the fuck is going on there?
Popular decisions aren't tough, they're easy. When we talk about tough decisions, I'm talking about tough decisions. The things the last government ran away from, that governments traditionally run away from, I'm convinced that because they've run away from difficult decisions, we haven't got the change we need for the country.
It must be, they must have changed the angle of the lights or something, because he does it, now it does look white. His hair looks... Yeah, it must be the angle of the camera to the lights or something. Because, look, he can't have aged during the course of an interview, surely.
No, that's what happens to us. We've aged.
You know, I honestly, I don't have a single non-grey pube anymore. It's ridiculous.
And because I'm so determined to bring about that change, I'll do the tough things, and I'll do them early to make sure that we can bring about the change that we need. So I'm not going to apologise for this, but I do recognise how difficult it is for some people. I do recognise for pensioners, it's really hard for some pensioners here. But of course, they do rely on the NHS. They do rely on public transport. So these things aren't...
That does sound a little bit like a threat. Like, look, we could allow them to heat, but then you wouldn't get a new hip. So pick your poison, you old cunts. Like,
I think what I might have to... I probably will put this segment up, but I'll be none of us talking. It's just going to be every single... I'm just going to do a supercar of every time he says the word change or fixing the foundations or tough decisions, and just title like everything that you need to know about Keir Starmer's interview.
Yeah, one of the easiest edits you're going to ever have to do is like 2 cuts. It's fine, because the rest of it's just him saying that, so... Easy, but...
Divorce, and with the triple lock, what I can guarantee for the state pension is that the increase...
Thank you, Montesbuton, for the bit. Sorry, my alerts were off. I do recognise that for poor people it's really hard, but it's even harder for the rich who are really struggling at the moment. True. Like they're drowning. They're drowning in all the money, like whatever. What was the fucking cartoon character diving into the pile of money? Right, they're drowning in the coins.
Oh, fuck's sake, the duck. What's it called? DuckTales.
Yeah.
For fuck's. No, I can't remember.
Scrooge McDuck, that's the one.
Scrooge McDuck! I was thinking Ebenezer. You can see why.
This government will outstrip...
He's a good.
By the way, why did he choose all of those dumb names? No, even in his own day, Ebenezer Scrooge was not a real name.
It's because it was a setup for the shaman to be able to promote drugs without being reprimanded by
the BBC.
Ofcom.
Yeah, the BBC literally played Ease a Good.
Absolutely.
At like fucking prime time. Genius.
Any reduction in the winter fuel payment?
You mentioned the NHS there. Now, your government asked Lord Darzai, a very eminent surgeon, to look quickly into what was really going on in the NHS. The report's coming out this Thursday, but can you share any of what he has found already?
Yes, I can. I asked him, he's an eminent surgeon, huge experience. I asked him to do a raw and honest assessment of the NHS, a diagnosis, if you like. He's been really clear that the NHS is broken but not beaten. And the reason he identifies, just I'll rattle through them without spending much time on them, is because of the money that was taken out of the NHS, particularly in the early years of the coalition 2010.
Are you saying austerity is bad?
I mean, this is what he said during the election campaign.
But like, okay, so maybe stop doing it then.
It is funny. It is funny.
You're doing the austerity. That last bit they were talking about, that was you doing austerity and defending doing austerity.
Because it's not wrong. Like, this is explicitly what I've been saying. It's
Yeah.
what we were saying. It's what Jeremy Corbyn was saying. Like, again, the amount of money going into the NHS dropped as a percentage of GDP every single year from 2010 to 2019, right? It was only Boris Johnson that increased funding for the NHS by that metric during the 14 years of Conservative governance. And this was when the waiting list started going up. People keep saying, oh, well, it was the pandemic that did deal with the NHS, and obviously the Tories can be trusted with it, but they can't deal with the pandemic. No, waiting lists were already much higher than they should have been. Every single year when waiting lists increased, fun enough, just as money was going down. What's that? Reducing the funding for a department. It means a reduction in service provision. I don't believe you, Helena. I can't believe it. And he's right to point it out, and it's clear that was what was being taken from this document that he's been given. And then what is Rachel Reeves's first action, apparently, according to Times leaks of her preparations? It's slashing budgets to the NHS. They're going to give pay rises to junior doctors, and it's coming out of the existing NHS budget with no ability to be able to have extra funding to cover what they're going to have to use for it. So they're going to have to cut funding for the actual provision of the service to deal with the pay increases that Labour have put on them.
Yeah, so he's saying removing money from the NHS, bad, but that's what we're going to do.
But they've been forced to do it, which again was the identical argument that David Cameron used in 2010.
Yeah, no, it's continuity Cameronism. That's exactly what this government is. It's the same excuse to perform the same policy. Make the crimes of the rich be paid for by the poorest and least able to fight back in.
Yeah, this is what's so tilting about the Labour Party and government as well, is that actually, apart from Clement Attlee, because even Harold Wilson did this, is that they were so desperate to be seen as economically credible, they just accepted not only Treasury orthodoxy, but accepted their opponent's framing of everything. Like, Wilson did this less, but Blair and Starmer have done the identical thing of saying, well, to look credible, we have to do the same fucking song and dance that David Cameron did. And so we can't actually change anything. So I think David Cameron was deliberately lying about the state of NHS being something that they had to do. They knew it was a political choice. Yeah. Yet a lot of people on the Labour right just kind of either are like Cameronites, or they've conned themselves into thinking there is literally no other way of being able to do this, so we have to reform it, right? There are plenty of people, I think, who are on the front bench who don't want to do what Wes Streeting's plan to do. He's a nefarious piece of shit, I guarantee, given the Alan Milburn stuff that's coming out today, that he essentially gave Alan Milburn access to a bunch of the stuff for the NHS, even though he's not been appointed to any position as an advisor.
Yep.
Which is, of course, ghoulish, because Milburn is one of the chief architects of NHS privatisation.
Indeed.
But there are plenty of NHS supporters on the Labour front bench or on the different parts of undersecretaries for the cabinet or whatever who think that this is bad, but think, oh, well, our hands are tied because we can't be in government to get the change we want unless we accept that framing, which means the Labour Party is doomed to be a vehicle against change rather than for it, because they have deliberately, in service of short-term political gain, made the Overton window as right-wing as possible.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. I think that is the thing. I don't think most of them are Cameronites, for want of a better phrase, or Gideonites, whatever. I think it's partly they get sucked in by the bubble, and partly they're not really from the real world, and so they don't necessarily understand the problems completely, and they don't understand that anything other than just pleasing the right-wing media is like a strategy you can use in government. And so they're essentially forced, through a lack of imagination, in essence, a lack of political spine, to continue the same thing because they think that's the only way government can be done. You saw, I think I pointed this out the other day, which I think you were on that stream, where he said something stupid, and it was the way he worded it showed that, oh no, it was Rachel Reeves, that showed that they fundamentally don't see the government as a vehicle by which change can be achieved. Yeah. They're not fundamentally people who believe in, or have accepted, like you say, the orthodoxy, the economic orthodoxy, that essentially the government isn't really there to make people's lives better. It's there just to allow businesses to continue to make money and nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right in that regard.
Onwards, the Lansley reforms, which were hopelessly misconceived, took a lot of money and had to be then reversed. And then, of course, COVID on top of all that, which has put us in this awful position for the NHS. His diagnosis...
And actually, the COVID thing, it was so galling that they used it as an excuse as well, because the huge number of people who died needn't have, not just because of bad decisions made at the time, like, putting old people back into care homes that they knew were going to be exposed, which killed lots of their own voter base off, if nothing else. Amazing. But the NHS being consistently underfunded for the decade leading up to the pandemic breaking out meant that the NHS was absolutely at the worst possible point it could have been for that pandemic to hit it. You'd made it so frail and weak at that point that they're hitting it, and they had to build those fucking Nightingale hospitals everywhere, because actual hospitals had no capacity to deal with any kind of increase in the number of people they had to deal with. It was fucking embarrassing. We're like a fucking not third world, second world country, maybe a 1.5 world country, I don't know.
Like a developing economy, right?
Yeah.
That's what we've been described as by a lot of people. A developing country wearing a Gucci belt. We've become like a mini USA, both in terms of the economy and culturally, as well as miserable. And it's also really galling. Obviously, I mentioned before, like their plans for these cuts necessarily in operating budgets for the NHS coming in the first budget. It's in October. But even before the first budget, Rachel Reeves cut a bunch of the hospital capital investment programs that had been promised by Boris Johnson that were going to be costing more than had been planned, which is why there was some expansion in the amount that was projected to be spent. And why the black hole came from was that capital investment projects had been they'd underestimated how much these projects were going to cost. And he's just said that we had these problems with lack of investment in the NHS. You just said there that having to get these Nightingale hospitals was a problem of lack of capacity, lack of inventory within the NHS facilities across the country. And what's the very first thing that Rachel Reeves did as soon as getting hold of the books and seeing the black hole was cut capital investment projects to expand the NHS inventory. This is insane. That was the first thing that she did.
Well, thankfully, we will never have another pandemic and it will never be a problem. Case closed.
My conclusion is the only way out of this now is reform. I think only a Labour government can reform the NHS.
By reform, he means privatisation, by the way. Just to decode that for you.
He's absolutely not wrong that only the Labour government can reform the NHS. And it does mean privatisation, that's true. There was a really interesting interview on Times Radio that we listened to. I think it was a couple of years ago now. It was quite an old segment that we did. Listening to Sajid Javid be interviewed about this. Because obviously Sajid Javid is a Randian. He's an objectivist. His favourite book is Atlas Shrugged. And
which, again, can we just say, even just as a piece of writing, get a better taste, you little fucking prick. Jesus, because that's your favourite book. You are lost. You need
absolutely.
Jesus.
It's someone absolutely not just kind of bereft of intelligence, but like bereft of taste.
Yeah.
That's that you can hate the Conservatives for all of the terrible policy or the people that they've killed, but you can mostly just hate Tories for what such kind of awful like people they would be to have as friends.
Yeah.
Just like imagine hanging out with somebody knowing their favourite book is Atlas Shrugged, and you just be like, what do you bring to the table as a human being?
I honestly couldn't. I couldn't because I would just end up ripping on them constantly. I'd just be like, I wouldn't be able to let it go. There's something inside me that just wouldn't be able to go like, really, Atlas Shrugged? Are you fucking brain dead? Like what?
It's like finding out their favourite film is Lady Ballers.
True.
It's really, but anyway, the conversation that he was having on Times Radio was that, everybody secretly admits that the NHS model doesn't work. Behind the scenes in government, because we all know from what George Osborne was talking about, how there was horse trading behind the scenes in 2010 about how they wanted to put up tuition fees, the Labour government did, but they thought they couldn't do it because they were Labour. And it's true, they wouldn't have been able to get away with it, but the Tories could. So there was horse trading in the background to try and get the Tories to do it in lieu of Labour because they both agreed it had to happen, even though it didn't have to happen. So Sajid Javid was saying, well, we also believe the same thing is true about getting rid of the beverage model. You need to get rid of it, and everybody agrees, but the Tories can't do it because we seem to be the government that would always be bad about the NHS. So we can't do it, but the Labour government can definitely get away with it because they're seen as the progenitors of the NHS, which is basically true. So yeah, Keir's not wrong. Only the Labour Party can reform the NHS. And by reform, we mean privatise. And we all know who West Streeting is being paid by. We all know who he's drafting in to help him privatise it. It's clear what their plan is. He says, oh, well, it's always going to be free at the point of use and paid for by general taxation. But is it going to be owned by us? Or is it just going to be subcontracted out to a bunch of different private tendered competitors? Who knows?
Indeed.
And therefore, we will use his diagnosis as the platform for the reform that we now need to carry out in relation to the NHS. I promised we'd get the NHS on its feet again, but I also promised I'd make it fit for the future. And this is the diagnosis, if you like, the platform that allows us to properly understand the state of the NHS and why it's in that place. But also, when it comes to technology, when it comes to empowering GPs and preventative measures, to look at how we're now going to reform the NHS so that we can not just look proudly as Labour Party always looks back proudly and says we created the NHS and 75 plus years ago.
Honestly, I think this man would lose in a fight to the corpse of Clement Attlee. Like Clement Attlee
was hardly a spring chicken, was he?
Clement Attlee would fucking body this fool, and he would deserve it.
We've had a fantastic NHS in many respects. What I want to ensure that is in 70...
Like he should, Will Smith style, he should climb out of the grave and slap this motherfucker and say, keep my name out of your fucking mouth.
5 years, people look back again and say, we've still got a fantastic NHS because of the work the 2024 Labour government did.
But again, isn't part of this actually quite a clear political strategy? It is going to be another moment when the new government...
I hope Bevan, I hope his ghost haunts this man.
Is saying, look how terrible things are, look at our inheritance. Aren't you managing people's expectation? And if it's all this doom and gloom, how can you expect people to feel inspired or hopeful about what you might be able to achieve?
Well, two things there. Firstly, yes, we've got Lord Darcy's analysis. I don't think anybody watching this is going to be surprised by his conclusion. I don't think they're going to say, well, when I went to A&E, it was perfect. I was in and out in record time. Everybody watching this who has used the NHS or relatives have know that it's broken. They know that it's broken. That is unforgivable, the state of our NHS. Now, I don't think anybody could say that's sort of just us claiming or performative inheritance. If there's one thing this country knows, it's the last government broke the NHS. Our job now, through Lord Darcy, is properly understand how that came about and bring about the reforms, starting with the first steps, the 40,000 extra appointments. But we've got to do the hard yards of reform as well. And as I say, I think it's only a Labour government that can do the reform that our NHS needs, and we'll start on that journey.
Okay, two more things that I want to briefly
It's frustrating.
ask you about. You're expected to go to the White...
It's super frustrating because, again, like, he's completely correct. And it's a good political strategy as well to hammer on what was clearly people's biggest concern going into the election. Outside of cost of living, NHS topped everybody's concerns, regardless of which party, and it really did cost the Tories loads of votes. So hammering on this thing when it's true, everybody who has interacted with the NHS knows that it's shit. They know that it's been absolutely catastrophically destroyed by Conservative Party failure. And of course, interestingly enough, is that they actually are kind of admitting now that it wasn't Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss that broke it. It wasn't a problem of Boris Johnson, the floppy hair Brexit bad man. It was the nice guy. It was the guy in the suit. It was the grown-up in the room, David Cameron and George Osborne, who broke it. But unless they properly change the paradigm that George Osborne and David Cameron set up, it's all just empty. And it's sad. It's really sad because this could be a watershed moment for reworking the British public's relationship with government, and they're just throwing it away and incinerating it in a massive private equity funded neoliberal guff.
Perfect description, yes, exactly. The neoliberals have bought the political establishment. They own it. They own Britain.
Yep.
White House next week. Now, it's no secret that your decision to
he's going to see the boss. Oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly. What's all? Can you please tell me what my foreign policy decisions will be today?
It's amazing. It'd be like it'd be like a branch manager And then there's like the regional manager, and he's going to see the regional manager now. He's like cap in hand, like, hello, Mr. Biden, and he goes, who are you? I'm the Prime Minister of Britain. What's Britain? What day is it? Can I have some pudding? I want pudding.
So in this company analogy, then, right? So I mean, it's really Blinken. Blinken is the regional manager. And because the thing is, usually, right, Joe Biden, like the president of the United States, would they'd be the CEO. And then, like, you've got the regional manager of the US department, which is Anthony Blinken, the regional manager of the Middle East department, which would be, I don't know, like Ehud Barak or something.
Yeah.
But nowadays, because Biden is just so kind of cucked out and Netanyahu has realized he can do what he wants, it's finally the other way around. And Netanyahu just become the CEO of American foreign policy.
Pretty much.
Some arms sales to Israel has not gone down very well across the Atlantic. It has.
Oh, boo-hoo! It's like they're a separate country with sovereignty of our own. We made a decision that the Americans don't like. Oh, never mind.
I wonder. I mean, this could be a real moment for Keir Starmer to show some mettle and say, "I don't care. They're not our country. We have our own foreign policy. If they don't like it, they can jog on."
Exactly.
But I'm sure he'll be mealy-mouthed in response.
Exactly. Like, the answer would be, I'm not the president of America, so why are you telling me about the government policy in America? I don't care. I'm not from there. I'm the Prime Minister of here, and this government made this decision. If the Americans don't like it, that's fine. They can ring me about that. But we're a separate country, and we have been for like 300 years now. Chill. But no,
if you want us to,
answer ever.
Yeah, if you want us to have unified policy decisions, how about we have a unified country again, like we used to before you cocked it up and ruined everything?
True. Or, what would be the biggest balls move ever? Joe Biden is so fucking, like, dead, basically. I reckon we could take it back. He can go there and get Joe Biden to sign America over to Britain. And we can restart the fucking empire big time. Let's go.
Not made the UK government very popular with its closest ally, the United States.
You're wrong about that.
So
we've been talking to the US.
Approves of it?
We've been talking to the US beforehand and afterwards, and they're very clear that they've got a different legal system, and they understand the decision that we've taken.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
he's actually that's fair enough. Actually, not wrong. They do have a different legal system. Well, they don't have one. They don't care about international law. Never have. They're not signed up to the Rome Statute.
Technically, ignoring international law is an approach to international law, and it is a little different than ours. Slightly different, only slightly, but
Yeah, there's a reason why they never signed up to the Rome Statute, and likewise with Israel. It's so they can both do war crimes and nobody can tell them anything about it. Like, that's what's funny. I mean, there's this prevarication around the application for arrest warrants by Karim Khan. I'm just like, well, it means jack shit, because international law means fuck all to Israel because they never signed up to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Hello there, Sister Rose. Everyone going full of Sister Rose.
Do it.
It's very clear. The reason I'm actually going and having the visit is not about that at all. It's because the situation in Ukraine is becoming ever more pressing, as is the situation in the Middle East. I've obviously had a number of discussions with President Biden, both in person and on the phone, and with other allies, France, Germany, Italy, NATO allies, about the tactical decisions we have to make in relation to Ukraine and the Middle East. And we've coordinated a lot of our messaging, coordinated our action, as you'd expect. But what I also want to have the opportunity is for a more strategic discussion about the next few months in relation to Ukraine and in relation to the Middle East. So it's that more strategic discussion that will be the central focus of the visit next week.
You had to defend President.
There is no way that Biden doesn't call him Keith. 100%. 100% he's going to call him Keith or Kevin or something. There's no way he remembers it's Kia, because that's not even a real proper name. Welcome, Keith, to Washington. Like, it's just gonna full on Keith him out, and I'm here.
Oh my god!
it.
If only that guy on TikTok who does the really funny Biden and Trump impressions paid attention to British politics.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him do a Keir Starmer impression, and then the first time Joe Biden and Keir Starmer meet in their respective roles.
True.
You're not the Rashid Sunook guy.
Yeah. Have you whited up, Rashid? Wow, it looks really amazing. Yeah, no, I'd swear you're a white
20
guy.
years.
Yeah, and you've grown by like a foot. What? This is madness. Also,
Star
please,
Wars.
that would be Biden. You are a man of, like myself and Sister Rose. You're a man of the Irish diaspora around the world, right? It's a beautiful thing. We feel a unity of spirit here. It would do everyone, including your Irish ancestors from the great county of Mayo, of course, a great service if you called him Keith Star Wars for us. Honestly, I'd forgive you so much. I'd even vote for you. I know you're not standing in the election anymore, but you don't know that, so I'll still vote for you. Okay?
Right.
Call him Keith Star Wars. Please, I need this.
I'll forgive the genocide if we just call him Keith Star Wars.
That would be, honestly, memes would stop. It would be such memes that memes would need to cease because we'd reached the peak that it could ever get to. It would be fruitless to continue.
Biden, when his health was deteriorating, are you relieved and excited about Kamala Harris as the new nominee, and the Democrats are your sister party?
Well, they're our sister party, and of course, it's really good.
Yeah,
to
but
see.
they're to the left of you now. They might break that off. You're too right wing for us, Keith. Sorry, mate.
So, are they actually a sister party now? That this liberal party? I mean, I guess this is they're parties now, but like. That shouldn't be true. You shouldn't have a sister party with the Democratic Party. That's not how that's supposed to work. Well, the Labour Party's sister party is the SDLP.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Democratic Party did lose the whip. That is true.
It's true. Yeah, Joe Biden stood on a picket line.
So, well, look, look. They're dangerously communist. They went trot hunting and they found the Democrats. Fact.
The election developing.
Joe Biden might try and sell him a newspaper. It's a nightmare.
As it is in the US. I'll be very clear. As the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, I will deal with whoever the American people elect in as their president. But I think it's very important.
Yeah, but like no world leader is like, actually, yeah, I hope it's Trump. Like even sort of sensible enough rightoids are like, he's a fucking lunatic.
Didn't Kamala Harris? Didn't Vladimir Putin say he wants Kamala Harris to win?
True, but like you always got to bear in mind that whatever Putin says isn't true, and I don't mean that like he's incapable of not telling the truth, but like there's always an ulterior motive for him saying anything. So I don't think he does want Kamala Harris to win. I think he knows definitely that Trump is his better option. His better play, because I mean the GOP in general have an defund Ukraine kind of movement within it, whereas the Democrats are obviously well on board with keeping that shit going. So obviously, but he knows he's not seen well in the West, so he comes out and says, "Oh, well, Kamala Harris," knowing that will play badly for her. You know,
it's all about this like non-linear stuff where he's trying to sow discord by making things seem chaotic and entropic. Yeah,
in terms of and of course Netanyahu wants Trump naturally, but that's for his own evil, nefarious purposes. Talking of disgraced warmongering shitbags supporting Kamala Harris, did you see that? I don't even know how he's still alive. Dick Cheney. Came out and said, "How is he still here?" Honestly, I reckon he double-crossed the devil. And he got, not only did he say he sold his soul to the devil, but he also got a little bit in the contract that says he can't die, so he's just going to live forever. And so technically that's it's null and void basically. So he just gets to live forever. Maybe the devil answers to him. Maybe that's the way around it goes.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, what's funny as well is that
like the tent doesn't have to be that big, Kamala. I'm just saying.
No, it's stupid because all the Democrats were going, yeah, look at even this hardcore Republican wants us to win. I'm like, that's bad, right?
Yeah, that's not good.
That's a bad thing.
Like I literally set my watch by if this prick wants something, I don't. So like the fact that he's supporting, I'm like, oh shit, I'm not sure if I'm going to illegally vote for her now. I don't know.
That's the thing, because it's obvious. I mentioned this on stream last time, so it's obvious why he's backing her. It's obvious because the neocons lost control of the Republican Party to the MAGA hats, and they want it back.
Yes.
And if he wins the election, they can't have it back. It's literally what the Labour right did to Jeremy Corbyn. It's identical.
It is. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And if
He's
he loses,
Dick Cheney is like fucking Ian Austin.
True, they are both evil scum. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And if Trump loses, not only is he too old to realistically run again, although I think I said that 4 years ago. But anyway, but they can point to a consistent pattern of Trumpism losing because they've lost basically every election he's run.
And all of his candidates,
exactly,
all of the candidates he's picked in the House and the Senate, they all lose as well.
Yeah, exactly, because they're fucking crazy bastards, and people people will vote for hateful evil, but they don't want like comical nasty evil. Like, I mean, literally,
It was just weird. Like the guy who ran against Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Herschel Walker, the guy who ran against
Yeah, well, you would say Herschel Walker. Yeah, a guy who was literally. Even the one thing that people thought he had going for him, like he was like a religious guy, and then it came out, he's been funding these women to have abortions for him. What the fuck? Like, and it was still 50.4% to 49.6 or whatever. Like, it was just fucking mad. It's Satan versus Jesus, and it's still like toss of a coin numbers. What the fuck? Oh, what was the one, the fucking pedophile that ran in was it like Arkansas and nearly won? What was his name? Judge, what's his face? People will remember. Anyway, yeah. And he
either way, yeah, but like
Trump
the thing,
creep.
Yeah, I mean, although what I think I'm genuinely of the opinion is that if Trump loses this election, he will be the candidate at the next election.
You think so? Really?
I think so. I think so.
Wow. Okay.
The fact that he managed to win the ballot, win the primary, with like 60% of the delegates against like 5 opposition people, when there was like a clearly stronger and more normal candidate on the ballot paper in Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
And he still won with this gigantic. It's a cult. It's a cult.
It is absolutely a cult. Yeah, but I think it loses a lot of steam. And it's 4 years less sharp as well.
They'll call it rigged and they'll believe him. They'll call it rigged and they'll believe him.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure a lot of them will.
The majority of Republicans believe the last one was rigged, and they'll do it at the same time. And they'll make him the candidate again, and he'll lose again, and he'll say it's rigged again. If he wins,
fine, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Okay.
If he wins this election, I think they'll make him fucking vice president for the next guy that they run.
He wouldn't be allowed to. Well, I mean,
he's allowed to.
No, he's not. What?
You can be nominated as the vice president even if you've been president twice.
Really?
I didn't know this. I thought it was outlawed as well, but I was watching some educational channel talked about how there is a loophole to be president forever by being vice president and then just having them retire.
Really?
It's outside because the 22nd Amendment, I think it is, specifies around being elected as president. It's not about holding the office of president. It's about being elected as president based upon how many times you've held that office or how long you've held that office. But you can get elected as president if you're vice president.
Yeah.
Maybe this person might have been wrong. They might have misread the wording of the amendment.
Yeah,
but according to this person I was watching.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see if that went to the Supreme Court. Although it's Supreme Court stacked with his people, so they'd probably be fine with it. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, regardless.
I mean, maybe it's all maybe Zioda's right. Maybe it's all one big like scheme between the Trump between the Trump top team and Dominion voting machines.
True.
In that all of the MAGA hats and indeed all of Trump's inner circle are all not realizing that Trump has got this backhand deal with the Dominion voting machines to transfer all the money from the people who contributed to the campaign to Dominion.
He was doing the long con.
It's very elaborate.
It's exceptionally well done. Honestly, if it does, you know what? I'll tip my cap to him. You got to hand it to him. That is an exceptionally well played long game. Fair play.
You remember, particularly for Ukraine and for the Middle East.
Oh, Roy Moore, that was it. Judge Roy Moore, yeah. He ran in, was it Arkansas or Alabama or some shit? Anyway.
Shit.
It was literally.
It was in Alabama.
Alabama, yeah. Yeah, because of course eventually the seat now goes to fucking what's his name? Anyway, my fucking memory's gone to shit recently. Anyway, yeah, he was outed during the election, right? And even during the election, it was revealed that the police, the local police, when he was going to like schools in the local area to campaign, the police would send along a protection unit, not for him, but to protect him from touching the kids, because they knew his reputation. Local police would send a squad of people with him to prevent the children from being touched by him.
As you do.
And he nearly won.
Also,
he nearly won that election.
Yeah, he did, because the Republican Party are fucked up. By the way, Jock, you point out in the 12th Amendment reads, no person constitutionally ineligible to be for the office of president shall be eligible to be that of vice president of the United States. That's true, but that eligibility to be the president is not what the 22nd Amendment prevents. The 22nd Amendment prevents you from being elected as president again. It doesn't make you ineligible to hold the office. It makes you ineligible to be elected if you've already served at least 1.5 terms if you've taken over from somebody who's died less than halfway through their term.
Sure.
That's why there's the loophole.
Also, yeah, well pointed out, Nigel Farage did campaign for Roy Moore. That did happen, yes.
Did he?
He did indeed.
Fucking
Went to
hell.
America. When were we still even? I think we'd left Europe by that point, hadn't we? Or maybe not. I can't remember. So he might still have been a member of the European Parliament as well.
As you do.
Again, not serving his fucking constituent. Has he been to Clacton yet? Do we know? Has he actually, as a member of Parliament, has he actually been to his own constituency ever? Because, like, he revealed a picture of himself saying, look, I'm in Clacton. And the sun was suspiciously bright, which suggested that was during the summer when the election was on. So I think that's just an old picture of him during the election. I don't think that's actually him at that time. I'm a Farage truther. I don't think he's been to Clacton.
A few weeks and months are critically important, and therefore it's important for me to speak to President Biden about our shared response, the response of our allies, to the pressing immediate issues, but also to the more strategic long-term issues, and that's why I'm going...
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Farage, the fucking little scumfuck.
Meltoid.
Absolutely, yeah. Nigel Farage to support controversial Judge Roy Moore in Alabama election. Ex-UKIP leader backs a candidate who once said homosexuality should be illegal. Jesus Christ. Moore is a fierce opponent of gay marriage who condemned sodomy in prepared remarks in a televised debate. Not even off the cuff.
Apparently dated a 14-year-old whilst he was in his 30s.
Yeah, pederast. Yeah.
Did you see like the did you see what was it? Did you see the there was the H Bomber guy video where they quoted the guy from Fox News, Sean Hannity, saying absolutely anybody who was in their 30s and dating a 14-year-old should absolutely be condemned. However, and I'm just like, yeah,
Exactly.
nothing good comes after that. However,
indeed. Fucking hell! What a broken party, man. Jesus.
And they might win. They literally might win.
Yeah, they actually might. Yeah, it's perfectly plausible. Although, again, if anyone's seen those Nate Silver stuff, actually look into it. He has Trump ahead by like 6 points, but he's taken into account polling from such sites as Patriot Polling. Do we think that a company called Patriot Polling are using entirely unbiased methods?
Ain't sure about that one, Chief.
I think the Peter Thiel money has gone to his head. Rather.
I think 'cause most pollsters I know have the election basically as a toss-up at this point.
Yeah, it's
basically with Kamala with like a 2 to 3 point poll lead on a generic ballot, but the Electoral College translates into it being 50-50.
Yeah, exactly, because they've got like a built-in advantage. Like, are we fucking Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes and lost? Like, it's ridiculous. You have to win by.
Oh yeah, she explicitly pissed off the voters that she needed to win in 3 very specific swings.
Well, exactly, but the point being that you can that when we have this generic polling this far out, not that it's not important, of course, because it does tell you a little bit about the state at play. But in terms of actually winning the election, if you're a Democrat, you have to win by like 3, 4, 5 points to win, because of that. They've got like it's not really a democracy. It's so ridiculously tilted, and of course everyone gets 2 fucking senators, including Alabama apparently. Even though you've been told you can't be trusted, Alabama.
Take away the toys.
Exactly.
Polling has historically underestimated Trump. That's true. I think that might be counteracted somewhat this time by the gigantic new voter registration that we've seen.
Yeah,
some of the biggest amounts of new voter registration we've seen in any election in recent history.
And he's not a new.
Kamala.
He's not a new phenomenon that isn't like factored in as such. Like I don't think he has the unknown factor. Like I think he's basically
he's not an outsider.
He's reached the cap of where his support is, which is like why. Did you hear that apparently someone tried to kill him or something? I didn't. I missed this.
Where did all that go?
Yeah, apparently that happened. Although I definitely remember if that happened. But anyway, apparently that happened, and it made no noticeable impact on the polling whatsoever. Because basically, everyone knows who he is, and either you're part of the 43% that want to vote for him, or everyone else who doesn't, and nothing's going to change about that.
Both on both of those fronts to have that discussion, Ukraine and the Middle East.
It sounds very much like you're hinting at a significant increase in the level of support for Ukraine, or perhaps giving them the explicit permission they want to use weapons provided by their allies into Russia.
Well, we have increased.
One sec. Thank you, non-binary, for the news on that one. Apparently, up to 50 Labour MPs could rebel over the winter fuel allowance. 50.
I'd be interested to see how many spines hold up on that.
I mean, that gives all of the lefty MPs kind of free rein to vote against it, because they can't be singled out for being troublemakers if a bunch of people from the soft left or the centre of the party are also voting against it.
We'll see. I'd be surprised if anywhere near that number did. I'd fucking love it. That would be good. Give him a bloody nose. Maybe make him think twice when trying to do a ghoulish thing in the future. But yeah, I can't see it. They're pathetic. They are fucking cocked beyond belief.
Yep.
Ukraine since we've been in office. That's not a criticism of the last government. I supported the last government when I was in opposition.
Yeah,
and
we
I'm
know
not now
you did,
going
mate.
to suggest that they didn't put the support in we needed for Ukraine. I supported them then. I support what they did. We need to now take this on. We've put more support in terms of capability. In relation to specific capabilities, then you'll understand I'm not going to get into a discussion about that on live television. But of course,
it's not
I
live.
want to make sure that we give Ukraine the support that it needs for as long as it needs it.
As you said at the beginning, this is also now your home, as well as the seat of government, and our viewers won't forgive me if I don't ask you a couple
Not technically the seat of government, that would be Parliament, but I'll let her off. It doesn't matter.
of questions about that, if I may, just quickly. One of the things you've done to make it more comfortable is take down the portrait of Margaret Thatcher that was put there by Gordon Brown, a Labour Prime Minister. Is that a bit petty? Was she really making you feel uncomfortable staring down at you in the study?
Well, the first thing is...
I mean, she backed genociders in Cambodia.
Yeah, but he doesn't mind genocide.
True, I mean, yeah.
It in the study, it was hanging somewhere.
I mean, I wish we just more open about these things. It's like, yeah, fuck it. I don't need the votes of people who like Thatcher. Please don't vote for me if you like Thatcher. Don't care. Just be needlessly and pointlessly nasty. I say pointlessly, correctly nasty.
True, but the thing is, he does want people who like Thatcher to vote for him.
Well, that's true.
That was explicitly his his target demographic. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it was me, then I absolutely would literally just say, like, why the hell would I want Thatcher in my office when what she did in Afghanistan or in Chile or...
I was about to really break terms of service, but I was going to say if it was me, I'd do something, and it involved damage to public property.
Yeah.
And we don't need to go there.
Or else, I think it was David Cameron brought it into the study. I used the study.
Yeah, he definitely masturbated over it. I'm just putting that out there right now. In his private moments, there's no way he didn't have a cheeky shofty over Mag.
Quietly reading most afternoons where I've got to have... There's a difficult paper that I need to... and I just this is not actually about Margaret Thatcher at all. I don't like images and pictures of people staring down at me. I've had it all my life. When I was a lawyer, I used to have sort of pictures of judges. I don't like it. I like land.
So he's just a fucking neurotic. Okay, cool.
I mean, I also think having photos, especially like official portraits, that's weird, right?
I don't know.
Official
If you're going to be,
portraits, like,
I ultimately I don't care that he moved the fucking paint. It doesn't bother me either way. But like, if you're going to live in 10 Downing Street, there are going to be paintings of cunts everywhere. That's just a fact you just have to put up with, I think, isn't it? It's the, you know.
So this is my study, is my private place where I go to work. I didn't want a picture of anyone. It's a picture of landscapes. As a lawyer, people tried to persuade me that I needed pictures of judges staring at me the whole time. I didn't like it. I don't like it anymore.
I don't like it. I'm scared. They're staring at me. He's just a bit weird. Oh.
There isn't any politician staring at me in my study where I just get on with the work I need to get on with.
It's unusual for a politician not to like people looking at them, whether they're in real life.
They're not people, are they? They're fucking photographs. Oh, God.
For in portrait form.
People have
you were doing well with
the
the fucking thing, man.
Flat. You won't, you know, some people have their mantelpieces full of pictures of themselves with world leaders. None of that in ours, not even in the toilet where people traditionally also put it. All I've got is pictures of the kids, the cats now. Etc. I might tolerate Thierry Henry on the wall, but that's about as far as I go.
Awkward pop culture reference.
Bingo.
We've gone there with the cats. So
we've gone there with the Siberian kitten, which has now joined the family, called Prince.
Well, that is the news that the nation wanted to know. But also one of our BBC listener.
Now, what I want to know, is that a royalist thing, or are we like Raspberry Beret Prince?
I don't know.
Because I'm fine with the latter.
True, absolutely. I mean, in fact, if it was me, I would replace the photo of Maggie Thatcher
with Prince.
With a photo of Prince.
That's fair, yeah. Exactly. I was upset
I
was upset when he died.
Yeah, true, absolutely. Or maybe we should have, actually, we'd probably just have somebody who actually is quintessentially British, or have Danny Dyer.
True.
As a devout follower of Marxism, Dyerism.
True. Exactly. I have a photo of Danny Dyer in my study to remember that not to be a twat and not to have my trotters up. It reminds me every day not to be a fascist slag.
Actually has got in touch though about the cats. They were quite upset that you didn't listen to your children's pleas to get a German Shepherd dog. Mike has written in to say, I can't get past the U-turn on the dog. What was he thinking? The nation needs to know. Why no dog?
Well, it was a long summer of negotiations, Laura. I said we would...
This is a politician interviewing the Prime Minister. Sorry, a journalist interviewing the Prime Minister. This is what journalism has become. She's literally asking. We're having an extended conversation about a cat/dog.
Well, we've had our fill of she gave us 2 journalisms already, Kev. I think you can. Yeah. I think she's very journalismed out.
Yeah, sir. A second journalism is it, Keir Starmer.
Settle it. We'd get in the room with the kids, and they determined that we got this Siberian kitten, which is lovely, by the way. It's sort of white with blue eyes. It was part of the deal.
I bet it'll be tasty.
Negotiated for moving into Downing Street, because this, you know, joking apart, this change has a profound impact on our children, and that's the people asked me before the election, you know, what am I most worried about? And I always said the impact on my children. We, as you know, don't have any photographs taken with them. We don't name them, but I have to acknowledge this is a big move for them. And therefore negotiating a fantastic kitten called Prince was part of the deal that they extracted from me.
Prime Minister, thank you very much indeed for giving us your time this morning and indulging our viewers.
Did you realise that Larry the cat has become like quite internationally famous? Mostly because of a Twitter account that isn't actually connected with the real cat at all.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's not official, that Larry the cat account. It just has pictures of Larry the cat and then a human pretending to be the cat. Anyway, yeah.
Now this is over, I don't really care about Kate Winslet or Tom Tugendhat. But do you want to watch Wes Streeting getting fucking cooked?
Yeah, let's go. I'm
I'll
absolutely
just
for that.
pop the link in. I'll pop the link in chat. In the
Yeah.
Twitter DMs.
Let's go. What we got going on here? Is that? Oh, it's not on YouTube. Okay, I was like, why won't this fucking open up in a new window? But it's just on Twitter. Right. So this is from GB News. Not a good
It's
stuff.
literally GB News did actual good work on calling out corruption in government to do with NHS privatisation. People.
Really?
It's wild.
Fantastic. Why is he's got such a small little face?
Like
He's
the
so
the
annoying.
face you would never ever tire of slapping with a wet fish.
I, for one, do not plan on physically assaulting any members of the British government.
Oh no, I'm not saying that I would do it. I think it would bad that you do it, but I think if you started, you wouldn't get tired.
Yeah, once you pop, you just can't stop.
True. Once you pop, that's great.
He has the kind of Pringles face, but for actual bodily harm.
You mentioned a former health minister there, Andrew Lansley. Can we talk about another one, Alan Milburn? Why have you been inviting Alan Milburn to meetings in the Department for Health and apparently, according to the Sunday Times, sharing official sensitive documents with him when he's completely unelected, he's unappointed, he's unaccountable to the electorate, and yet he's...
Exactly, you should only be releasing those kind of documents to members of the House of Lords, who are absolutely none of those things honest. Anyway.
He's got a multi-million-pound stake in a consultancy firm that advises on health matters.
What's that? Hang a
Alan
minute.
Milburn has announced...
Are you saying that private sector subcontraction in the NHS is bad, Camilla?
That does. I mean, honestly, I can't imagine that is what she's saying.
Yeah.
Surely, given everything she's ever said before. But also, could we just know it's really early on in this government, but ultimately, cronyism is going to be the thing that it gets remembered for. Already,
It is. It really is.
Already, it's so obvious.
They promise to be the grown-ups, adults in the room,
Yeah.
and to change the face of politics to make it in service of people again. And there was literally an article in The Guardian where an unnamed Labour source said, well, this is just politics. You're supposed to put your mates into high positions of power in politics. Why are you mad at us? And I was just like, sorry, the electorate are mad at you because you explicitly said that you were going to stop doing this during the election campaign. But then again, of course, it was a thing that Keir Starmer said, so of course it was a lie.
Yeah.
Standing record as Health Secretary under the last Labour government. And unlike poor old Victoria Atkins, who's doing the round this morning, who couldn't turn to any of her Conservative predecessors because they always left the waiting list higher than they found them, every single Labour Health Secretary alive today, from Alan Milburn to Andy Burnham, presided over NHS improvements that gave the Conservatives a golden inheritance of the shortest waiting times and the highest patient satisfaction.
Have you shared
in history.
official sensitive documents with...
Wes, when you gifted the Conservative government in 2010 the lowest waiting times ever, which, I think is a good thing, you also gifted them a lot of PFI debt. I wonder if Alan Milburn might be in any way responsible for all of that private money that you owe.
Yeah. But he did get his cut of it by now being a private consultant for the very companies who made money from that.
Isn't it weird how that tends to happen? And then suddenly you're advising the government that also plans to use more of the private sector, in Wes Streeting's own words, to hold the door open for the private sector, to go further than Tony Blair ever did.
It's an Ouroboros of corruption. Where government and business and government are one and the same.
Yeah, it's no longer a revolving door, it's a fractal.
True.
With him.
I make no bones about the fact that in opposition and now in government, I've turned to Alan Milburn for advice. He has been with me in opposition and in government, helping to shape Labour's reform agenda, advising me as the Secretary of State. And of course, at meetings that Alan Milburn has attended that I have invited him to, I have chosen to share papers with him and every other attendee of meetings. Nothing commercially sensitive, nothing in a...
No, I don't give a fuck about commercially sensitive, you prick. It's about this being private governmental information that could be nationally sensitive. Why is this man
Yeah.
being given this door? In the same way that, why was that prick who gave the party money given fucking AAA access to Downing Street? Why are their friends being given fucking cushy jobs in the civil service? Like, it's just,
almost like...
it's corruption upon corruption.
Kevin.
Yes.
If I had not very much mistaken, are you trying to say that, in fact, that these people are just as corrupt as the Conservative Party and do exactly the same things and don't get criticised in the same way by Liberals because they think that they're good because they're the red team? Are you saying that?
I've looked from the red humans to the blue pigs and from the blue pigs to the red humans, and I can't tell them apart anymore.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It is.
Appropriate.
But
But
official
certainly I've
sensitive
invited him to
documents.
attend meetings because he's an outstanding former health secretary, and I'm proud to have Alan Milburn's support and advice, and I'm proud.
Yeah, I don't know that outstanding is the phrase I would use. No.
I mean, he's outstanding in one respect.
I wish
And
he was standing. I wish he was standing out in the desert. That would be nice.
Alan Milburn,
Yeah, but he
Patricia
isn't-
Hewitt,
he isn't
John
in
Reid,
any
Andy
official
Burnham,
role.
Alan Johnson, all delivered.
But
all
hang on,
delivered
Mr.
the shortest
Streeting.
waiting times
I'm sorry,
and the highest patient
Mr.
satisfaction
Streeting,
in
Mr.
history.
Streeting, if your predecessor Victoria Atkins was bringing some...
Also, notice the combative that the GB News people will use with, a slip of the tongue there, Conservative, Labour ministers that they would never have done with Tory ministers. I mean, for a start, because they'd usually be employing the Tory ministers as commentators on GB News. But even so, notice the difference between the treatment of those two things, and maybe the bias that's inherent in that, and why they should, at the very least, be forced not to call themselves news anymore.
Well, exactly. Again, and it's because what's frustrating is that it's super easy to see the blatant bias and partisanship from GB News very specifically. You can tell that they have cushy chats on the sofa with Tory MPs and have combative interviews with the Labour representatives. But do people broadly, especially on the Liberal side, who are very good at noticing this stuff, do they ever see the same? Do they ever notice the same when James O'Brien has got like Starmer's balls like cradled in between his lips? No, of course they don't. They never notice when it's the other way around. Because, of course, as always, all news outlets have their own levels of bias. It's all about cutting through the bias, right?
Exactly.
If only any journalist was actually holding these people to the same standards, regardless of party, wouldn't that be a nice thing?
Yes. Media literacy is enormously important, because you then begin to understand that everyone has their biases. Every organisation has a bias, every writer, every commentator. And once you understand that, you can filter their views and the thing you're being told through that prism to understand a rough approximation of reality. Unfortunately, however, most people just go, oh, what's that? The Daily Mail is printing a thing that says that children are shitting in kitty litter trays. That must be true. You know, because they're fucking idiots.
Yeah, exactly. Weejock in chat, do you think Streeting will ever be leader of Labour? Personally, I think he's too similar to Starmer to inherit immediately. Well, he's only got 4 years. He's got 4 years to become leader of the Labour Party, because in 4 years' time, Leanne Mohammed's going to beat his ass at the next election.
I do hope so. But I don't think so. I don't think he has... I don't know. I was about to say he doesn't have the charisma, but I mean, Keir Starmer doesn't. But I don't think he has the communication skills to become the leader of the party that would then be in government. I think they'll find someone a better salesperson for that role. I don't think he becomes leader. I could be wrong. He's certainly one of the forerunners for sure, but yeah, I think
he
comes
second
across
in
as
line.
slimy, to be honest.
He does come across as slimy, but since when have the Labour right ever considered the optics of the people that they select as their leaders?
Yeah, perhaps.
Actually, I'm going to go left field. I think Bridget Phillipson is somebody they're also trying to get into a leadership position in the future. Yeah. I think she's exactly the kind of person, because I think that she's a better speaker than Rachel Reeves, but they wanted to be a woman because they've been keep saying, oh, we need a woman because it's always been white men or whatever.
Yeah, they desperately wanted someone like Reeves, but Reeves is such a poor performer. Like, verbally and all the rest of it. She sounds nervous. Which, like, no one wants that. That's a really bad... Like, it shouldn't be. Like, it's the pilot's voice sketch from Monkey Dust, where, like, it doesn't matter how incompetent you are, if you sound confident as the pilot over the tannoy, everyone's happy. It's that thing, right? And she just sounds bad. So they'll probably pick someone else. Yeah, and he might be Phillipson or whoever. Like it's that. I think that is a bit of a left field choice, to be fair. But
Phillipson is like a Labour Together OG, so it doesn't really matter how much the party think of her. She'll just get all of the funding, and she'll be part of the campaign if there is a leadership election.
Well, whoever it is will probably know well in advance because they'll start pushing that person forward. They'll start. I think we need to have a new phrase for it, a kind of an Ashworth. They're going to Ashworth her or him, and just have them on every fucking TV station, like the bit from The Simpsons where they try and change the channel. It's just Mr. Burns on every channel. It's going to be like that with whoever they choose.
Although I think that actually, with Phillipson, it'd be difficult because any time that she would be in public, they would just bring up that clip of her smiling at the audience member in question time, like detailing how much the Labour Party is a crock of shit, where she looked really smug and weird.
Yeah, true.
Somebody in to meetings at the Department for Health and sharing official sensitive documents with them, and they had no official role. They were completely unelected and unaccountable to the electorate. You'd have something to say about it. When she was Home Secretary, Suella Braverman shared official documents with John Hayes, who was an actual elected Tory MP, and she got in trouble with the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner. So why are you sharing official documents with a man who I appreciate has an illustrious history within the Labour Party, but he doesn't actually have an official role? What's he doing in private meetings?
Alan Milburn is an outstanding former health secretary.
Why is he in...
Yeah, but that's not the fucking question, is it, Wesley? Honestly, this is really... But this is what I mean, by the way. Like, a slick politician would be able to just sort of push this aside, but he's just going to repeat the same thing without answering the question at all. It's embarrassing. He's bad at this.
He is.
Proud that he's rolled his sleeves up to help us. And Alan Milburn is also a member of the Privy Council. And look, the bottom line is this.
Okay, whoa. It's not a national secret. No one's arguing that you're, like, revealing the nuclear codes to him. By the way, for those who don't know, the Privy Council is a really ridiculous notion. But it's basically a way of sharing sensitive national secrets with people like, say, the leader of the opposition, who technically isn't in government, but you need to be able to prove to them the X, Y, and Z. So if you say this is why it's a national emergency, you can't necessarily reveal all the information to the public, but you do have to get, like, the Parliament on board. So you share with, like, the leader of the opposition and various other people in an organisation called the Privy Council. And so that, you know, the fact that he's on that, we're not in a nuclear war, so no one cares. But that's not the question at point here. It's that he's not. He shouldn't be giving this information, and you know you shouldn't be giving that information to him.
Yep.
Because I presume the other people at the meeting weren't on the Privy Council, because that would be mental considering it's the fucking health department. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Smog is a member of the Privy Council. Do you want to invite him along?
These are meetings. These are meetings that I convene to look at the NHS reform agenda. I decide who attends and I decide what they see.
Right, but there are rules guiding what you should do. You don't get to make those rules, and those rules say you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what she said before when
you're not a dictator.
Suella was rightly. When she was right to, because Suella Braverman was rightly pulled up by the parliamentary standards.
Yeah.
Over sharing documentation with those who shouldn't be seeing it, right? Like this isn't even an elected person. It's just some random old health secretary who just happened to have loads of connections with the private health sector.
That's the
West
real,
Treaty also has loads of
issue.
Connections with who they want to sell contracts to.
Yeah, that's the real problem I have with it. Like, I don't really give that much of a fuck, because some of those standards rules are shite and they don't implement it properly anyway. You know, no one faces repercussions for these things, really. They get a slap on the wrist at best, mostly. But the thing that annoys me is the fact that he's obviously doing this because he's in the pay of private medical companies.
Yeah.
So he's using his connections in government to corruptly gain money for companies that are paying him. It's a direct, absolute corollary of the way in which the Tories operated.
Yeah, because actually, I think Monkey Nuts is right. Like the sharing of documents, whilst I think you could pull up some parliamentary standards rules. That's one thing. That's against the rules. But the big problem is what she said beforehand about his connections with the consultancy.
Exactly.
This is
Yeah.
a gigantic conflict of interest.
Massively so, yeah. There's no way he should be fucking... Also, by the way, that means he shouldn't be on the fucking Privy Council as well. Because that's, another conflict of interest.
And I'm very proud that we have a former Labour Health Secretary with an outstanding record in government advising this government.
What's his official role?
He's the conductor of the gravy train. Now shut up.
That we will get Alan Milburn. I very much hope we will get Alan on board in an official capacity. That's up to him. But I'm delighted. I'm delighted to have his. I'm delighted and proud to have his support.
No, there's an obvious reason why he doesn't have an official position, because then the glaring conflicts of interest would be made much more starkly, and that would be a massive scandal, or at least a scandal. Because if you had an official government role in the health department and you were being paid by a private healthcare company, that would be a very significant issue. I think the media might have something to say about that. I think Parliament definitely would have something to say about that.
Have a pass for the Department for Health?
I don't know actually.
Shouldn't you find out because he doesn't have an actual job?
I think that's a definite yes then. Because there's no way, knowing that this is what that was going to talked about, there's no way they didn't check that. And if it was the no that he didn't, he'd come out and say no, because that makes him look
Exactly. It's the same kind of answer that in the Parliamentary Select Committee, the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, when David Cameron was asked by Alicia Kearns if he'd been handed any information from any legal representative telling him that there is reason to believe the UK arms would be used to violate international law by Israel. And his genuine response to this, we watched on stream the other day, was saying, well, I can't remember every single piece of paper that's come across my desk. And somebody rightly in the comments pointed out, yeah, but you'd think, dear Foreign Secretary, RE complicity and genocide. Like, maybe that would be one that you tend to remember.
Yeah, exactly. You probably don't put that in the spam folder along with, Funky Tie Friday rounders. Do you know what I mean? I think you probably remember you might be committing crimes that could get you sent to The Hague. Okay, I'll put that one in the to-do pile, I think. Yeah, okay. Like, come on.
But he's a former... He's a former health secretary with an outstanding track record, and look, we can continue
is there
down.
A fucking echo? Because I'm sure I heard him say this like 5 seconds ago.
But we're going to be delivering change and fixing the foundation.
Oh God, yeah. It's like it's buzzword tinnitus. I can't get it. It's just in my head now. And again, the enormous annoyingness, that's not a word, anyway, of Keir Starmer saying, we're not going to do a government by sound bites, which bites in of itself is a sound bite, which is funny, but but literally all he does is fix the foundations, change is the change that I promised to change. And now this dickhead's like, Alan Milburn, good health secretary. Secretary Milburn, good Milburn. Fucking hell.
On this line of questioning, I'll continue to say the same thing.
They're going to drive me insane.
My question.
Embarrassed apologetic about having Alan.
Just try and ask me the questions. I'll just talk over you. I'm not driving a mini metro.
It would be, honestly. Oh God. It would be so good if he
ask
didn't.
My question again. See what I do.
Yeah. It'd be such a flex if he just went, I've got 104 friends.
I've got 104 people who I share sensitive government documents with.
Milburn involved in helping this government to shape a reform agenda that will be able to deliver the same kind of results as the last Labour.
He should end every interview with, needless to say, I had the last laugh.
I had the last laugh, now fuck off.
Honestly, the energy in that scene is so fucking mental.
Oh my God, it's so...
I don't know how Rob Brydon didn't shit his pants. Just fucking mad. God damn it, that was good.
Just to confirm, you're quite happy to have a
Don't be
man
blue,
sharing
Peter.
official sensitive documents and holding meetings at the Department of Health who does not have an official role at the Department of Health?
Alan Milburn is one of my advisors. He comes in to advise me as the...
Well, he's not an actual advisor. He's not he doesn't have a government role. Like, that's like saying your parents are also advisors because they talk to you about your job. Like, you know what I mean? That's not how that works. There are official government advisors. It's an official position. You get paid quite a lot, actually. But you do have to, like, not have massive conflicts of interest, at least publicly.
Yeah, quite.
And that's the rub. That's why he won't take that position.
Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, and I've chosen to ask for Alan's help because he has an outstanding record as Health Secretary, a record that Conservatives can't even begin to touch, in fact a record that they trashed in their 14 years of disaster and incompetence.
Wow, that went well. Honestly, Wesley, you are amazing. Please stop.
Well, speaking of stopping...
Yeah, on that bombshell.
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot I'd put that. Sorry, my opening bit was I put a collage of my favourite memes from when the Queen died. And I'd forgotten one of them was a skip that someone had put a fucking skin on that was God Save the Queen in the Union Jack. Amazing. Amazing shit.
Love it.
The amount of crazy shit. That needs to be studied as well. Those few weeks after the Queen died, the country went fucking mental.
It
really
did. Like, the Cavernacles video was excellent at detailing just how much brain rot had infected the society.
Yeah, one of the memes here. As a mark of respect for Her Majesty the Queen, we are suspending the use of this ride. Blah 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 blah. And it was literally a kid's like, you know, you put 20p in the machine and it goes, you know, dee doo dee doo for 50 seconds.
Yeah, literally.
It was one of those machines. Look, is that what the Queen would have wanted?
Adventure have cancelled our...
Yeah. Yeah, here. Everyone at Domino's Pizza joins the nation and the world mourning the Queen. What the fuck is that? Domino's, fuck off. Sorry, I'm
very weird.
It was. The country, wow. It became even more strange than it usually fucking is. Who are we going over to?
Joan Atkins is live.
Yeah, we'll go over to Joan Atkins then. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And on YouTube, there is basically nobody live who I can see, but Mark Lamont Hill is live in a couple of hours, so I'm going to raid you into his pre-stream.
Indeed.
Everyone go follow KF Logan 1875 over on Twitch and Floppy111 over on YouTube.
Everyone go and follow No Justice of the MTGs. Although I should probably just say No Justice MTG because that's the actual name that I want people to go and search for. I'm such
Instagram,
a great
YouTube,
seller of these
Facebook,
things.
TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch,
Indeed.
Threads.
Yeah, I'm on Threads now as well.
Safe.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, go on.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Bye.
Bye. Ah.